Chapter 51. Are they really vampires? Can you suck blood? Human blood is their food. Where do they come from? Have no idea. How did they become vampires? It's transformed by other vampires. What about you? Monster hunter, or superhero? Have you ever killed monsters before? Not long ago, I just killed a 5-meter-long lizard monster. Wow. So cool. On the way back, Elena hugged Ron's arm with both hands. He stared at him curiously with his big eyes and kept asking questions. With a wave of his hand, countless plants were used by him. With another wave of hand, the surging flames dispelled the fog. Just like the legendary magician. She was in Ron's arms. It was so close that I felt no heat. This is unreasonable. Very unreasonable. But all the legendary vampires appeared. It's normal for a magical Ron to appear? Vampires can hurt people and suck blood. Ron defeats the vampire and protects people. He is a good person. She is so lucky. Ron, can you go home with me? There are vampires in the town and I hope you can protect my family. Elena looked at him begging. Constantly shakes his arm. Ron smiled on his face, definitely. Why don't you run? You are just a fool. A coward. Shit. Stefan's home. Damon roared at Stefan with anger. Let you suck blood, if you don't suck, you are a saint. At the critical moment, you are a waste that has no effect at all. It doesn't work, why don't you run away? Are you standing there waiting to die? Stefan walked aside. I'm leaving, you'll die. Damon punched him in the face. He won't kill me. If he was going to kill us, he wouldn't have any signaling device injected. You have been drinking animal blood for years, and your brain has gone out of your mind. Stefan was silent. He was suddenly appeared by Damon at that time. And Ron's methods were shocked. He is obviously not a vampire. Even the means are not like witches. But his power, ability, is so powerful that it is unimaginable. It can even control plants and flames. They are all the power of Tianqi vampire. Everything about it made him confused after living for more than 100 years. He has lived for more than 100 years and has never seen anything. But this. He has never seen it before. What should we do now? Damon had a gloomy face. Pacing back and forth. We have to be strong. As long as he is so strong that he is not an opponent, it doesn't matter even if he can't get out the signal. Stefan frowned. Hesitation on his face. But Damon, if he becomes stronger, he will suck blood. Damon closed his eyes speechlessly. Take a deep breath. Then find a helper, the more the better. With his back to Stefan, Damon's eyes flashed. There is also the easiest way. Open the seal of Fair Church. Under the church, more than 20 vampires were sealed. Among them is his goal, Catherine. Just let them all out. Plus their friends. He didn't believe it, Ron could still fight more than 30 vampires alone. Oh Elena, who is he? Elena's Aunt Jenna first glanced at Ron. Then he squeezed his eyes at Elena. What a handsome man. She has lived for more than 30 years and has visited many cities. But I have never seen such a handsome man. What kind of fine brand does Elena eat? He also brought his family. This is not to blame others. Elena rolled her eyes. He pushed open the door and walked in. Ron followed behind and smiled at Jenna. Hello. Jenna closed the door and glanced at Ron. He quickly walked to Elena and asked in a low voice. Elena, what's wrong with you? I'm back so late, I can't answer the phone. Elena's bright eyes were full of excitement. Jenna, we met a vampire today. Jenna glared at her eyes. Looking at her solemnly. Where do vampires come from in this world? Listen to Elena, just date. It's not that I don't allow it, don't lie. Elena looked into her eyes. Jenna, when did I lie to you? Really, when I went to the cemetery to see my parents today, I met 2 vampires. If it weren't for Ron, I might not have come back. Jeremy couldn't bear to watch it anymore and walked to her impatiently. You mean, he's been fighting a vampire? Or 2? Why? By this. Ron pointed his hand lightly. The flower pot exploded, and the flowers in it instantly became more than 1 person tall. The rhizomes are like ropes. Bundle Jeremy in midair. Oh. God. Chapter 52. Why are you in my room? After taking a shower, Elena changed into her pajamas. As soon as I returned to the bedroom, I saw Ron sitting on the bed. Ron spread his hands. Jenna arranged it. She said there was no guest room, so let me live with you. Rooms are definitely available. Just shocked by Ron's ability. Until now, when I speak, I keep saying oh, buy it, a trademark therefore, I have no intention of cleaning up the guest room. And Ron was brought back by Elena. Jenna saw them holding hands. It was arranged together as expected. You finished taking a shower? Then I'll go take a shower too. Ron stood up and took off his top. Exposes angular and beautiful muscles. Walked towards the bathroom. Thinking of the beautiful scenery that flashed past in front of me. Elena had a dry mouth. She touched her a lot during the day. But this is the first time I saw it with my own eyes. Hey? Etc. Ron goes to take a shower? Then sleep in the same room with her? No. Want it? Ron hummed a song and washed his body quickly. After washing, take out the new clothes from the space and change them. A Euro Cruff A Euro trademark. The door is not locked. Elena who speaks right and wrong. Push open the bedroom door. Ron walked in. You really want to sleep here? Elena wrapped in a quilt and leaned against the head of the bed. Only big eyes leaked. Seeing him dressed, a trace of disappointment flashed through his eyes. Otherwise? Do you want me to sleep in the corridor? Ron closed the door and went to bed. He doesn't have to speak. Elena moved to the side. Give him a seat. He just lay on the bed. Elena leaned over. Just now, it was just the reserve of a girl. Experience everything today. She was mentally excited but physically exhausted. Leaning in Ron's arms. His head was against Ron's chest. Sniffing Ron's breath. The whole person shrank into a small ball. I just feel safe and comfortable all over. With Nephrite in her arms, Ron reached out to cover her small leather drum. Well, this position is uncomfortable. Elena's voice was trembling. Okay, let's change the position. Ron supported his hands and turned. Elena turned her back to him. The back was tightly against Ron's chest. Let her pillow with one hand. The other hand accurately grasped the softness. How is this posture? Elena was in disgrace and angry. BD Ron, why are you so skillful? She had a suitor. But just as I was about to confirm the relationship, my parents passed away. The two of them just blew. Don't say you're caught like this. Even if I touched it, I had never been touched. She wanted to push it away. But the warmth of the big hand. Let the hand that I want to push out. Instead, he pressed back hard. Deeply trapped in. Next second. A warm breath came to her ear. Stop pressing, it's not big, it's gone if you press it. Elena was stunned. A bright and shy smile froze on his face. Not big? Small? Why don't a Euro trademark T you think eat a Euro trademark S small when you just needed? Grasp Ron's hand and put it to his mouth. He bit it on one bite. Well, so hard. It seems like I have bitten a brick. Her tooth aches. This time I became even more angry. I think I'm young, why don't you go to find a big one? Ron sniffed the fragrance between Elena's hair. He spoke in her ear. No, I like to play since I was a kid. Played since childhood? What's the meaning? He has childhood sweethearts? I noticed Elena's doubts. Ron leaned into her ear and explained softly. That is. What does it mean? Elena's big eyes flashed. I asked a question by some devil. Then how big do you like? Put your arms in the middle and you can completely wrap it. Elena smiled secretly. Then you may have to wait a long time. No, I can't wait that long, you have to work hard. He pursed his lips, and the smile on Elena's face disappeared. Do you want to fall in love with others? Ron shook his head gently, you can't let me find a better one, right? Humph. Elena snorted in dissatisfaction. Then I want to find a better one, too. Ron exhaled into her ear. Is there any better than me in this world? You. Elena was furious. Because she really can't find anything better than Ron. Mysterious, powerful, and honest. More importantly, it is extremely handsome. But the more this happens, the more angry she becomes. Without any refutation, she simply turned over and pressed Ron under her. I make you the best, I make you the best, I make you the best. It was obviously a PG fight. But at some point, the lights turned purple and pink in a trance. The air was filled with a sweet smell. Body. Soft as boneless. Eyes. Water mist is everywhere. Body. Well, it's worse than the peaks. Ron, you're just ABD. 2 hours later. Elena fell asleep. There was still accusation between the lips and teeth. Chapter 53. Ron looked down at Elena, who was asleep, and frowned. I couldn't help but sigh. What a soft girl on the outside and hard on the inside. He looks petite and weak. For the first time, I insisted on it for 2 hours. Ron picked her up with one hand. Simply replaced the plum blossoms. Then he hugged her and lay back on the bed. I also fell asleep. The next day, it was dawn. Elena is under Ron's medical ninjutsu. It has basically recovered almost. As soon as she woke up, Elena was surprised to find out. It was obviously a struggle for 2 hours. I was actually refreshed. Nothing about my friends said, the pain was unbearable and it was difficult to get out of bed. The little head quietly raised. Looking at Ron holding himself. Did he do it? So amazing, secretly amaze. But then, the scene of last night appeared in my mind. Her eyes were once again confused. The head was approaching unconsciously. At the same time, he leaned up slightly and pouted his mouth. The two little hands also began to move around. Don't you want to get up? Ron smiled and looked down at her. Elena woke up as soon as she moved. I thought the sky hadn't fully lit up yet. Holding the soft Elena, she slept for a while. But Elena looks like she has tasted the sweetness. Obviously I don't want him to sleep. Is it reasonable for a girl to touch a big man? Such an immoral scene, it made Ron unable to pretend to be asleep. Just open your eyes and look at each other. Elena's little face turned slightly red. Ignore Ron's reminder. The movements are constantly. It's okay, it's still early, okay, you can send this to yourself. Ron took a deep breath. Turn over and turn into a dragon knight. Another flying dragon and phoenix dance. 1 hour later. Hiss, Ron, why? We obviously last night. Elena hugged Ron. Tears wet Ron's chest. Ron looked at the familiar red mark. Sinking into deep thought. Look at my hands. Blinked. Could it be that medical ninjutsu can restore this? Forget it, doesn't matter. Anyway, it's a good thing for him. It's just that Elena is suffering. Ron patted her on the back. I will treat you for a while and it won't hurt. Woo? Treatment. With his little head raised, Elena's little face with rain was full of doubts. Ron didn't explain much. A green light lit up on his hands. Gently pressed on her. The next second, Elena felt warm all over. It seems to be soaking in a hot spring. Comfortable from the inside out. Even the pain was gone. Looking at Ron's hand, he was surprised. Ron, have you treated me last night? Right. No wonder, it's so comfortable. Don't feel comfortable, it's time to get up. Jenna is making you breakfast. The treatment is completed. Ron held Elena and stood up directly from the bed. Carry all the way to the bathroom. Ron, be careful to let Jeremy see. Elena was buried in Ron's arms. There was no resistance, but he also reminded him. Ron chuckled, don't worry, he can't see it. Jeremy's bedroom. Jeremy had already gotten up and was about to go out. A branch stood in front of him. He was startled. A pen was sandwiched in the branch and a line of words was written on the drawing paper. 20 minutes later, go out again, Jeremy. After a moment of silence, he suddenly refocused his head. Okay, okay. Brother-in-law, as long as you teach me this trick, I can do it all day without going out today. After he finished speaking, he saw the pen draw an okay gesture on the paper. He almost jumped up excitedly. Outside the bedroom. Elena looked up and said, we did I hear Jeremy shouting again? Ron's face did not change, I heard it wrong. Elena nodded, without doubting him, oh, okay. After washing up, Elena moved her body. 2 hours last night plus 1 hour today. My voice was hoarse and I didn't want to move. But now, I feel so refreshed and feel comfortable all over. Ron is awesome. Even Jenna was stunned when she saw it. Could it be that what I heard last night was all fake? Dreaming? Otherwise, it's so intense, how could it be? In the end, she can only blame it on being young. If it were her, it would have been worn out long ago. After dinner. Elena looked at Ron in confusion. Don't you go to school? Are you a biology teacher? Ron shook his head, I won't go. I came here just to find vampires. I was going to quit when I saw Stefan yesterday. But I didn't expect to meet a little beauty. Elena was happy, but rolled her eyes on the surface. Hey, I know how to say this, I don't know how many girls I have deceived. Ron raised his eyebrows. You are the only one in this world. Eurobo, *I#3. Euro trademark kissed Ron happily. Then I'll leave. Watching the two feed dog food. Jeremy and Jenna were speechless on the side. They shouldn't be here. But seeing Elena is so happy. They were happy for her, too. The two left. Jeremy turned around and shouted before going out. Brother-in-law, don't forget to teach me. No response was heard. He looked back. Hey? When did you leave? Chapter 54. Marvel World. Stark. A violent explosion turned the entire reception hall into ruins. Fortunately, there is Ron's reminder. Tony and Pepper have been prepared for a long time. After knowing the names of Killian and Maya Hansen, Tony investigated the two. When I discovered that it was because of my romantic all night and caused trouble. Tony's face turned blue and red. I dare not look at Pepper's ridiculous eyes. Quickly investigate Killian's A.I.M, and conduct a detailed investigation. It is also learned that Killian is using disabled soldiers to conduct human experiments. The injection is what Ron said, extremis. Knowing all this, Pepper also understands the importance of things. Decide to argue with Tony later. She helped Tony delay time. Create the adamantium armor. This time is no better than last time. Last time, adamantium was already in stock. This time, not only is there insufficient inventory, the amount Tony wants is twice as much as last time. This leads to the fact that 3 days are not enough. No matter how fast Tony is, he can't stand the lack of materials. Only one is built. When I learned that I could not procrastinate. Killian has already headed to Stark. Tony gave the armor to Pepper. At the same time, John Wick was also allowed to walk as a bodyguard. Eat a Euro trademark S, not that he doesn't a Euro trademark T want to start a war directly. But, he is Iron Man. Let Pepper fight the enemy in steel armor. Then is Iron Man he? Or Pepper? Or that armor? So, he would rather drag it. Wait until your own armor is built and solve Killian in one fell swoop. And this one he once promised to Pepper. This is the pride of Iron Man. But he didn't expect it. Killian was so crazy. Pepper and John Wick noticed something wrong. When evacuating company employees. One of Killian's bald men. He actually injected a portion of extremis into a disabled soldier's body. It can be imagined. No professional equipment help. He simply couldn't adapt to extremis energy. The energy like magma rolled in his physical energy. The skin is like ash on the surface of the slurry. The cracks were cracked, revealing the hot magma below. Then it exploded. Shockwave, which is comparable to the large equivalent C4 explosion. Rampant in a small space. Fortunately, Pepper carried the adamantium armor with him. In an instant, the armor was possessed. Pepper and John Wick were just washed away in the impact. Not injured. Killian and his men took the opportunity to disappear without a trace. Only Happy is the head of the Ministry of Security. Always evacuating employees. Shockwave, knocked out by explosion. Injured and unconscious. Very miserable. This also made Tony completely angry. I didn't care about the second armor that had not been built yet. Just held a press conference. A declaration of war was launched directly on Killian. A trademark M Tony Stark, I don't care if you're Mandarin or Ordriza Killian. I just know that you've annoyed me. You are dead, I will collect your body for yourself. If you are a man, don't hide and come to me in person. This is my address, Villa 10880, Malibu. I'm waiting for you. After the declaration of war, Tony did not underestimate the other party. Through investigation, Extremis has low success rate. But every successful guy can fight his titanium armor one-on-one. Thousands of degrees of high temperature. Plus you can break limb reborn. Each one is not weak. It can be said that 2 or 3 can fight the lizardman that Connors becomes. If it is in the ninja world, it can also be regarded as an elite ninja. Each one is equivalent to half a Zhou Dun Yakang. Or half of the melting old purple. Tony, you're too risky. Rhodes driving the war machine fell from the sky. He opened his mask and looked worried. If Tony's news is true, then they will face more than a dozen or even dozens of extraordinary warriors. Tony patted him on the shoulder. Come in first, discuss it. Inside the villa, there are 2 more figures. Pepper, John Wick. Rhodes was stunned and looked at Tony angrily. Annie, why did you keep Pepper here? If the other party attacks the villa, how can you ensure Pepper's safety? John Wick he doesn't care. Who knows who this is? But Pepper is different. Pepper is Tony's assistant. At the same time, he has also recognized him as a friend after spending years together. It is also recognized by everyone as the future Mrs. Pepper Stark. After exposing his address, why did Pepper stay? The nervous concern for Rhodes. Tony and Pepper looked at each other and smiled. Pepper is much safer than me now. Adamantium I'm coming, all of them worked hard to create an armor for Pepper. As long as you are not hit head on by a nuclear bomb, it won't be a problem. Chapter 55. Rhodes, sure enough, when you have a woman, you forget your brother. A full set of adamantium armor. He didn't even dare to imagine how much it was. A gram of adamantium costs tens of thousands of dollars. This set is at least 200 kilograms. That is to say, at least $2 billion US. More than that. Can resist nuclear explosion. Suck. Bitter tears flowed down from the corners of the mouth. At this moment, he was not worried about Pepper. He was a little worried about himself. After all the calculations, it seems that I am the one with the weakest defense. Tony's armor has been updated for dozens of generations. Pepper's adamantium armor. He is the only one, but it is modified by Mark II. Hey? Wrong. Rhodes pointed to John Wick on the side. What about him? Pepper is Tony's girlfriend. It is understandable to have armor. But what does this mean for such an ordinary person? Tony can't fall in love with someone else and abandon his gay friend. Have you found another one? Tony, he is a lizard serum warrior. After all, it is my helper. Rhodes must know how strong he is. Tony motioned to John Wick. John Wick nodded and transformed directly. In an instant, a huge lizard, 6 meters long and 3.5 meters high, appeared in front of the 3 people. He grabbed the metal table next to him with one claw. A Euro PSST. A Euro trademark 3 centimeters thick alloy steel plate. 5 holes were caught by John Wick. A huge body, 4 thick and sharp claws. Rhodes were sweating coldly. At this moment, it seems, my own war machine can't stand it. He knocked in armor. A Euro dang 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 dang. A Euro trademark sure enough, defense is also first class. It's really thick, big, and hard. After a long time, is it still the weakest? Rhodes' mouth twitched. His eyes subconsciously glanced at the crotch of the big lizard. I saw a slippery area. He said in his envious heart, I am not jealous, I am really not jealous. A Euro trademark A Euro trademark am not jealous at all when I A Euro trademark am replaced by my little brother. A Euro trademark Tony saw that Rhodes had no doubts. I also started my own deployment. Next, I will let J.A.R.V.I.S monitor the surroundings with all my might. Let all armor divisions be around and deal with enemy attacks at any time. Rhodes raised his hand. I want to ask, how many armor do you have? Tony didn't raise his head. 42. Rhodes. Tony continued. A Euro at the same time, I will search for Killian A Euro trademark S location A Euro I won't sit still and wait for death. If he doesn't come, we will take the initiative. By the way, John, if you want to change back, go next door first. He didn't want Pepper to see other fruitmen. When Tony arranges. In SHIELD Nick Fury looked at the declaration of war with a gloomy face. Too unreasonable. It's really inappropriate. He didn't even notify him of the notification. Just declare war on terrorists privately. And Ordriza Killian? Is he Mandarin? This name is a bit familiar, and Nick Fury can't remember it for a while. But it doesn't matter. What's important is that Tony clearly had news but didn't tell him. What do you think of him, the Commander-in-Chief of the Avengers. No. S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot stay out of this kind of thing. Nick Fury takes out the contactor. Hello, Charles. Hello Director Nick Fury. Charles's voice came from the other side. Nick Fury, Charles, you should have seen the news I hope you can get your help however. Charles, sorry, Director Nick Fury X-Men has missions too we have monitored new actions for Brotherhood members in Magneto I'm upset. Nick Fury took a deep breath. The phone was cut off. He swore that this time, we must expand the Avengers ranks. He called his cell phone number again. Phil Coulson, come to my office. After a moment, Phil Coulson knocked on the door and pushed it in. Boss. Who is here in the Avengers? Nick Fury goes straight to the topic. After all, no matter how many ordinary people go to fight, they will give away vegetables. Phil Coulson shook his head. The captain and Barton are still on mission Adder. Banner went to practice Only Natasha Romanoff is there Nick Fury took a deep breath. He felt again that the Avengers were too small. Too few people. Nick Fury leaned forward. Support your hands on the table. He frowned and thought for a moment. You go and contact General Ross, S.H.I.E.L.D. to call abhorrence. He disagrees, so he finds someone to put pressure on him. In 10 hours, Hatred must be allowed to arrive at Villa Malibu. Phil Coulson looked serious. Yes, boss. Nick Fury's one-eyed flashes. Just so happen, take this opportunity to get in touch with Ron Stark. And Spider-Woman Gwen Stacy. If you can detain Hatred again, the Avengers will have a great increase in combat power. I no longer have to look at other people's faces. S.H.I.E.L.D. will also be the largest justice organization on Earth. Chapter 56. And just after Nick Fury released the mission, not far from Pierce's office, Alexander Pierce got the news. At the same time, Crossbones Rumlow was called. Rumlow, the opportunity is here Nick Fury will send someone to support Tony Stark I would suggest him to let you lead the team be sure to get in touch with Ron Stark strive to absorb him into our organization, do you understand? Rumlow's body stood up straight immediately. Hydra hail, Pierce's eyes were solemn, Hydra hail. Sergeant Davis, I hope you can give me an explanation. Looking at the bald man in front of him, Killian looked angry. He was delayed by Pepper for several days. He didn't want to wait a little bit. I plan to give Stark a ruthless one. By the way, he captured Pepper. It was obviously a good plan. He caught Pepper's attention. Davis was in charge of handing the extremis over to the guy who had arranged it. But everything hasn't been done yet. Stark's people obviously noticed something was wrong. He actually started to evacuate employees quietly. And Davis? He was still crossing his legs and sat on the sofa in a daze. Nothing was found wrong at all. As a result, he discovered it. Let him carry out the plan in a timely manner. But even so, it also made Pepper run away. The losses caused are also minimal. This is 1,000 miles away from his plan. It felt like he was in love with a beautiful woman. I plan to get her drunk and take her home. You can get drunk and take it home. I found out that they were pretending to be drunk. Just pretend to be drunk. After a night of passion. The makeup is full of makeup and reveals its true colors. A nose that is broken, a tooth is broken, and the earth is covered with the sky. The sky is falling. Killian, I think, trademark S possible that someone leaked the plan Ellen Brand spoke. She is a female special forces soldier. His arm was blown off on the battlefield. Relying on extremis, the body returned to normal. Killian vented a lot and his emotions became much more stable. After a few seconds of silence, he looked at her. Who do you think the leaked plan will be? Ellen Brand looked up. Dr. Maya Hansen. Their location is underground. The above is the research laboratory. Only she has something to do with Tony. And she is different from us, she just thinks about experiments in her mind I extremely disagree with our behavior if Killian hadn't even stopped her, she might have destroyed the experimental data long ago. Maya Hansen can climb onto Tony's bed. It can be seen that she has a certain social status. Unlike these disabled soldiers. After retiring, Amelika didn't care at all. They are completely burdened. Originally, after surviving on the battlefield, there was a phobia of war. Live all day in severe anxiety and depression. He is also disabled and is regarded as a scum. There is no light in their hearts. It was all shrouded in darkness. Therefore, it doesn't matter whether it is a terrorist attack or revenge. But Maya Hansen won't. Killian thought for a moment. The look in her eyes obviously recognized her words. What do you think you should do? Ellen Brand's eyes filled with murderous intent. Kill her. A killing intention also appeared in Killian's eyes. But then it disappeared without a trace. He shook his head. No she is a research and development worker at Extremis and is currently the main scientific researcher Extremis trademark S subsequent improvements are still needed Ellen Brand gritted his teeth. Then let's lock it up for now. Killian nodded with a gloomy expression. That's it. When Extremis improves, she will be useless. Davis spoke angrily, Killian, I'm going to do it myself, ding lingling. Trademark instruct people to control Maya Hansen. Killian is just about to plan for the next step. Suddenly, the phone rang. Rodriguez. Killian just spoke. A series of scoldings came over there. Killian. Why are you exposed? Why did Tony know your information before the plan to kidnap President Ellis has begun? I need your explanation. Killian narrowed his eyes. He looked unhappy. The leak of the plan made him feel angry. It's exploded now. I'll explain it to you. Rodriguez, you have to know that you are begging me, not me. You beg me to treat your daughter's legs. You need me to kidnap Ellis and kill him. Let you, the vice president, take power. If you can't help me, you just know how to blame. I will send someone to kill all your family before I kill Tony Stark. Chapter 57. Killian said mercilessly. Vice President Rodriguez burst into cold sweats on his back. Killian's exposure made him dizzy in anger. He wanted to use Killian to cure his daughter and become president. It was almost time to disappear. He didn't control his emotions for a while. Forgot, Killian is not a good person. When the wind blows, the coldness behind you. He took a deep breath and lowered his voice. Killian, sorry. But I want to remind you. If you plan to target Tony Stark, you have to do it as soon as possible. Otherwise, what you are facing is not an Iron Man, but the entire Avengers. ASAP? Damn it. To put it simply, it seems that Iron Man is a native chicken and tile dog. But Killian heard it, he had new news. Did you get any information? Rodriguez said in a deep voice. A-es.h.i.e.l.d informed the other Avengers at present, they have all tasks and cannot return in time. But it won't be necessary to delay for a few more days. And, Nick Fury asked Rose for hatred. Obviously to support Tony Stark. At that time, you're facing Captain America, 2 Hulks, and the entire Avengers. By the way, Tony's younger brother, Ron Stark is not an ordinary person either. But it's gone for now. Rodriguez said every word. Killian's face turned a little gloomy. The lower my confidence in killing Tony. When finally, he heard that Ron was the extraordinary. His pupil shrank. Pepper dragged it again and again. He was going to attack Ron. If it weren't for Ron's disappearance. I'm afraid they'll be exposed if they really do it. Can you do it as soon as possible? He trademark wants to. Killian's face looked ugly. The villa area of A-Euro Malibu is a gathering place for the rich. I can't break in quietly. I can help you. Rodriguez's voice changed slightly. It seems to be proud to have the upper hand when facing Killian. I will temporarily block the surveillance of the Malibu villa area A-Euro and try to delay and prevent S.H.I.E.L.D from getting A-Euro hate A-Euro trademark A-Euro, then you will be given a batch of armed helicopters. You take your people and attack directly from the sea. After succeeding, go back the same way. Killian didn't say anything. Thinking about the feasibility of Rodriguez's plan. He did not doubt whether the other party would plot against him. The two of them are now grasshoppers on the same rope. If he is finished, he will not be able to escape. Dare to harm President Ellis for a small matter. Tony Stark is a big deal. His family will die. America is such a country. Tony's total assets will not be mentioned. At the end of Iron Man 3. He only puts out fireworks steel armor, there are dozens of them. The value of a fight will not be less than 100 million. In other words, he easily exploded dozens or tens of billions. Moreover, his Malibu villa was blown up at that time. The villa is equipped with luxury cars and various equipment. The total value is at least 1 billion or more. No pain at all. All of this is an explanation. Stark is very rich. Very rich. Money is God. This is also the case that Killian has many desperate warriors. And why we need to cooperate with Rodriguez. Okay, just follow your plan. Rodriguez replied, start action in 6 hours. I will make everything. In a hidden room. Rodriguez hung up. Throwing the phone aside with disdain. Garbage, waste. If I were to rely on you alone, I wouldn't have done anything. He cursed angrily. Walk back to your seat and sit down. Rodriguez crossed his hands and looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. Colonel Stryker, I hope you can bring me good news. Stryker's face did not change his color. Rodriguez was scolding Killian, but he was scolding him. This is always the case. Useful forward, useless backward. Dragging your legs? If I don't a Euro trademark T kill you, eat a Euro trademark S all my kindness. He didn't care about Rodriguez's emotional change at all. Nodded slightly, the target has been found. I caught the Red Devil of Mutant Brotherhood. From him knowing that he has a son a Euro trademark S called Kurt Wagner a I found him. A smile appeared on Stryker's face. A luckily, he inherited the Red Devil a trademark S ability a I will control him with hypnotic ability potion and let him attack the president a ensure it's foolproof. Kurt Wagner, the future Nightcrawler. Also known as the Blue Devil. And the hypnotic ability potion is Stryker, which extracts substances from his son's brain. Researched. His son is also a mutant. Mutant who is powerful enough to be hypnotic ability Charles. Hearing this, Rodriguez smiled satisfied. The name of the Red Devil can be said to be known to everyone at the top of America. It's a perverted momentary movement. No matter whether you can see it or not, you can go wherever he has been. It's simply born for assassination. Although it's just his son. But assassinating an ordinary person is enough. Chapter 58. Rodriguez put away his smile and looked solemn. As long as you succeed, I will support you with all my strength. F plan to eliminate all mutant and build Sentinel is no exception. Please rest assured, you. Colonel Stryker smiled and left after leaving a sentence. But after turning around, the smile on his face disappeared instantly. As long as he succeeds? That's right, the premise of full support is that he must succeed. If it fails, then he will be abandoned. And what will happen if you abandon your son? Hehe. Just take a look at Killian and you will know. Before the plan began, Rodriguez was ready to give up on him. It is conceivable how Killian will end if he fails. But if you want to get it, how can you not give? He likes a saying from the ancient East very much. Future and honor are in danger. Trademark. Don't let Rodriguez see his worth. How could he get what he wanted? Want more things? What's wrong with fighting hard? As long as he can successfully create a perfect sentry based on Trisker's research. Mutant? Vice President? The Avengers? Haha, vulnerable. After Stryker left, Rodriguez was silent for a while. Suddenly I picked up my phone. Surveillance Killian and Stryker. If the task is guaranteed to be successful, you know what to do if it fails. No matter how great Stryker's plan is, he is just an ordinary person. As for Killian, his armed helicopter was provided by himself. Then it is understandable to install something on it. For example, a bomb that can be detonated at any time. After all, he is the vice president who represents justice and has always been. I won't do anything out of the ordinary. How could it be related to two terrorists? Well, it's possible, it will be the president soon. Villa Malibu. Tony Stark is taking 3 people to deploy defense. There are dozens of armor hidden around. Plus the alert from JARVIS. Tony was confident that no one could approach without his defense. Rod, I need you to go back and find out for me. Help me organize information about Killian, we need to be prepared for a counterattack. Tony finds Rhodes. A look of relaxation and comfort. It is completely not to take the attack that may come seriously. If Pepper hadn't been there, he wouldn't have been so cautious. Even in his heart. I don't think Killian really dares to come. Okay, I'll try my best. I will always pay attention to this place and will arrive as soon as possible. Rhodes nodded and put on armor. In the current situation, it doesn't trademark matter if he has more, and he has less. Instead, he can find Killian's information in the military. That helped Tony. Rhodes just left. Nick Fury called. Stark, I applied to the military to mobilize hatred. In 10 hours, Abhorrence will arrive in Malibu, California. There is also a team of agents led by Rumlow. They are all under your command. Fury, thank you. Even the arrogant Tony thanked him rarely. He also knows it well about SHIELD. That's almost all the power Nick Fury can mobilize. Rumlow is also not inferior to Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye's top agent. Nick Fury felt relieved when he heard this. Not easy, Tony Stark said. Thank you. Thank you, don't need to say it to Ron. Get some time and let him meet me. Get out. Tony glared. Nick, you're not allowed to play Ron's idea. He is Stark's heir. If you are very idle, hurry up and send adamantium to me. Tony himself joined the Avengers. Facing danger, I don't trademark know when I will die. In the last battle in New York, he was determined to die. Although I'm not dead, what about next time? Now Ron is awake. Enough to support Stark Group. If he encounters danger again next time, his determination to die may be stronger. Nick Fury's idea to Ron now? He and Ron are both dead, where is Stark? Nick Fury still wants to take over Stark? Tony narrowed his eyes. At this moment, he felt like he didn't want to care about Killian. Rush to S.H.I.E.L.D. and give Nick Fury 2 big bean urges. Let's see if he is thick-skinned or his armor is harder. Well, I got it, I will contact you when Rumlow arrives. Nick Fury replied lightly. Joke. The dignified S.H.I.E.L.D. director, Nick Fury, the thickest-skinned one. Can Tony's unintimidation affect his decision? Everything is to give way to the Avengers. He wants to conquer a big team of extraordinary people. Then let Carol be shocked. So, Ron Stark, he's going to make a decision. Even Tony Stark can't be saved. What he said. Chapter 59. Hang up the phone. Tony couldn't help but gasp. I was filled with anger. It's a slap. Nick Fury. I don't trademark want to sit in your S.H.I.E.L.D. director position. You wait for me. When this time is over, I have to change you. Well, Ron is quite suitable. Didn't trademark you let him join S.H.I.E.L.D? The director was also considered to have joined. Anyway, you have nothing to use. I just know to sit in the office and point fingers all day long. Have you pointed out a JB hair? Killian didn't know anything like this. Not as good as Ron. You can be Ron? He is my Tony Stark's younger brother. And Ron is much better than you. Make a decision secretly. Tony returns to the studio and prepares to continue building his own armor. Can't be adamantium all over your body. Then isn't it okay to put a layer outside? It can also improve defenses. Thinking of this, a prompt from J.A.R.V.I.S suddenly rang out. Sir, Mr. Ron Stark is back. Ron? Tony's eyes lit up. But then his face changed. Hurry up to find Ron. Aaron, Aaron. As soon as Ron returned to Marvel, he saw Tony running hurriedly. Well, it's Villa Malibu. It has not been attacked yet and turned into ruins. Tony is normal, too. What's wrong? Don't ask so much, you can go to another world for a few days first, and come back in a few days. It is enough for him to face danger alone. Can't get Ron involved. Listening to this, Ron raised his eyebrows. Tony, you won't be going to have a decisive battle with Killian, are you? Tony's expression froze. I know I can't hide it from Ron. Sighing. That's right. But don't worry, we can solve it. Looking at Tony's expression, Ron blinked his eyes. Afraid that I'm in danger. Tony had a serious expression. Yes, a Euro trademark M Iron Man, this is something I have to face, a Euro and you are my brother, Stark's successor. I know you're strong. I am not weaker than my steel armor, and I can also develop super serum. But this is not your battlefield, at least when I'm alive. Very touched. Ron saw Tony's anxiety. No refutation of him. Instead, he hugged him with a smile. Tony, you're too nervous. Don't worry, I won't put myself in danger. It's just a small character and it can't threaten me. Tony held Ron's shoulders with both hands. Looking straight into his eyes. I'm your brother, listen to me. It just so happens that Happy is in New York, go and help me. A Euro dingling dingling. A Euro trademark. The rushing phone ringing interrupted Tony's words. Ron's cell phone. Tony looked at the caller ID. Gwen. The corners of his mouth suddenly curled. Stop, by the way, check out your little girlfriend. I have been missing for several days, but she has been looking for you. I also contacted me as Spider-Woman and wanted to help me with Killian. Gwen wants to help with Killian. It's really a mess. He was not afraid of the desperate warrior, so he roasted her little Spider-Man into a spider dry. Looking at the prompts popping up on your phone. More than a dozen missed calls, and dozens of text messages. Ron thought. You can go and see Gwen and deal with Tony, by the way. To avoid worrying. Respond to the phone. Ron. Gwen, it's me. Woo. You finally answered the phone. Where have you been there for so many days? I haven't seen anyone for several days, and I don't even have a letter. This made Gwen, who had just expressed his feelings to Ron, feel good. If Tony hadn't said that Ron had something to do, he wouldn't have been able to get in touch. She thought Ron ran away after taking advantage and didn't plan to take responsibility. Listening to the crying voice on the phone. Tony squeezed his eyes at Ron. His eyes were full of jokes. Feel the flowers and plants, show mercy everywhere others don't. A Euro trademark T no, but he doesn't. A Euro trademark T no yet. Last time Ron came back, that look, it was simply. It was wilder than the next morning after the twins ended. They know what they did specifically. Ron comforted Gwen. Rolling his eyes at Tony. I'll go to New York, you're satisfied? Tony happily patted him on the shoulder. Satisfied, very satisfied. By the way, don't forget to help me see Happy. He wanted Ron to leave. The villa is likely to become a battlefield. Too dangerous. I'll go and find someone. Tony slapped his head and found some armor. Ron already had it. Ron, you drive the armor directly, it's fast. Ron raised his hand and lit up a green light. It's time to get rid of Tony. The feeling of comfort in the whole body made Tony stunned. After coming back to his senses, Ron had already put on his armor. Wave your hand at him. I will help you cure Happy. When this incident is over, you will be cured in your chest. Chapter 60. Times Square, New York. Opposite the entrance to Stark Building. A beautiful figure was looking at him. When seeing him clearly, the joy in the eyes can no longer be suppressed. Ron spoke up and was about to say something. But Gwen ignored the vehicles coming and going on the street. He rushed straight into his arms. He looked down at Gwen, who was buried in his arms and motionless. Ron swallowed the words to his mouth. Just hugged it motionlessly. People on the street saw two people. There was a smile and envy on his face. Eat a Euro trademark s great to be young. They are all so beautiful. After a long time, Gwen finally raised his head. Where have you been? I can't find you. It's a soft sound like a kitten. Let Ron hug her tightly again. But I was thinking in my heart. One world and one, you shouldn't a Euro trademark T be considered a scumbag, right? After all, in every world, I am very dedicated. Shaking his head, he quickly threw out the messy thoughts. A Euro, I have something important to do lately. A Euro. Gwen expressed his emotions in his heart, which was much better. Crawled out of Ron's arms. What's the matter? Can I know? Can I bring me with me? Ron rubbed her little head. Well, definitely. Now, I'll take you to do one big thing. Just so happened that he planned to treat Happy. Happy is one of Tony's few friends. This time, half of Tony's anger came from Happy's injury. It touched his bottom line. He became excited and made a declaration of war, which made him regret a little. Regret, no matter how much regret it. But let him choose again, he will do this. Otherwise, the thoughts will not be understood. Definitely, if it were Ron and Pepper. He will skip the declaration of war directly. J.A.R.V.I.S invades satellites around the world. Accurately locate Killian's location. Then, launch the missile. It is not impossible to even throw a small nuclear bomb. If he really did this, the whole world would help him cover it up. This is the Stark of Marvel world. So, when you come out and get along, the background is very important. There are human nature everywhere. With the cheerful Gwen, Ron drove straight to the hospital. Intensive ward. Happy was wearing an oxygen mask and was covered with scars all over her body. Because of inflammation, the whole person swelled up. He's Tony Stark's bodyguard. Gwen exclaimed with his mouth covering his mouth. She knew that Stark was attacked. But unexpectedly, even Tony's bodyguard was injured so seriously. He is no longer a bodyguard. Is Stark's security captain and the security department's secretary. Even though I asked J.A.R.V.I.S on the way, I had known about Happy's injury for a long time. But after seeing it with his own eyes, Ron could not help but feel anger in his heart. Happy is not just Tony's friend. It's still his. When he was demented, many times, Happy changed his clothes for him. Including toilet and dirty clothes. Never disliked him. Treat him like a brother. Thinking about those scenes, Ron's face was gloomy. It is very different from the gentle appearance on weekdays. A cold chill flowed in his eyes. He pursed his lips and came to the bed. Perception to Ron's emotions, Gwen didn't speak. Just stood quietly by Ron. I thought that if Tony was prepared, you would be fine. I have time, too, to arrange a better serum for you. Now it seems that you don't have this blessing. It's normal for pain, don't worry, you will recover soon. Ron raised his hand and placed it on Happy's chest. Finally, he murmured lightly, and the next second, a green light lit up on his hands. The green light fell on Happy. Slowly penetrated into his body. The scars that have been treated by doctors have healed quickly at a glance. It was originally a blood scab. In the blink of an eye, it was like a dead skin, sliding down. Stimulation of wound recovery. Let Happy scratch his body unconsciously. Exposes the dead skin, intact skin. His own actions made Happy wake up suddenly. See the figure beside you. He said in surprise, Ron? Why are you, me, mine, hurt, healed? Halfway through, he suddenly realized that he didn't feel any pain. Lift your hand, there are no signs of injury on it. He clearly remembered that he had not escaped the explosion. Fake? Hallucination? Wrong. I am in the hospital now. He was indeed injured. He looked at Ron's right hand withdrew. Ron, yes, you did it. Ron nodded with a smile and reached out to pull him up. Don't be surprised. I've been hurt and I'm still lying on the bed. Hurry up, get up and take 2 steps. Happy looked down at her body in shock. Groaning with both hands. It doesn't hurt anymore. It really doesn't hurt anymore. When you raise your hand, you have to unbutton your sick clothes. Ron held him down. There are still people, be careful. Ah. Ah ha ha ha. So excited. So excited. Happy saw Gwen and smiled and turned around and ran to the bathroom. You guys sit down first, I'll go to the bathroom to see. Chapter 61. Aaron, is that what you did lately? Gwen had big eyes, shock, curiosity and a hint of admiration. Ron is simply amazing. Powerful. It is also suspected to be teleport. It can also control lightning. Now it can cure injuries again. Happy was so serious. Ron just put it on him, and it took less than a few minutes. The whole person is like he is not injured. Jumping around. This is, the legendary mutant, the Avengers member. One of them is Thor in the mythology. I haven't heard of such an ability. Doesn't a Euro trademark this mean that Ron is better than Thor? Ron blinked. Nodded gently, it's almost the same. What else Gwen wanted to ask? At this time, Happy ran back. Aaron, we have to help Tony, that guy Killian will turn an ordinary person into a human bomb. And they are all strengthening people, Tony is in danger. Happy was wearing sick clothes and looked anxious. Let Ron sigh in his heart. If you go through this way, there will be danger. You wait for me and I'll get you something. Happy was puzzled. Ah? Something? What? Ron, smell like John Wick. What? Happy was shocked. You made John Wick become a lizardman. Mom messed with Farkey. It was when the explosion was originally happening. He was facing away from the hall. It shouldn't be blown in front. But Pepper was still inside, and he looked back anxiously. It was blown up. But, I also saw the whole process of John Wick's transformation. Hold the grass. A big 6-meter-long lizard. It looks even scarier than Hulk. Ron now says, did he make it? Lizardman? Gwen's eyes flashed slightly on the side. He looked at Ron, his eyes full of surprise. Bad guy, how many secrets are there? Ron rubbed Gwen's hair. Gwen, A1/2, what if he doesn't matter, Ron won't hurt me anyway. Ron smiled and replied. Yes, that's that. Happy hesitated. That, Ron? Happy struggled, can I choose? Ron wondered, why? Happy looked disgusted. The lizard is so ugly. I want a better one, such as a tiger or a lion. If it really doesn't work, it's okay. Ron glanced at him disgustedly. Look at you, what's the same thing as agile cats? It's 200 pounds? It's almost the same to find a wild boar for you. Happy's eyes widened and his face was full of resistance. Don't. I don't choose anything, elephants and rhinos are fine. Ron was speechless. He patted his shoulder. I try my best. Having said that, Ron wanted to find him a good one. The serum of extraordinary creatures is gone. However, even if you are in a hurry, you have to find a better beast for Happy. It depends on his luck. When he walked outside, he didn't carry anyone behind his back. He put on steel armor directly in public. Anyway, he knows everything he should know about wholesale armor. I shouldn't have known, and I exclaimed when I saw it. What should I do when I go back? It soared into the sky and headed towards the nearby mountainous areas. I just walked around the mountain. Ron's eyes lit up. Happy, you're so lucky. It turned out to be a brown bear. He is huge and obviously the domineering mountain. It's you. As it landed, a laser light flashed by. There was an extra blood hole in the brown bear's head. Ron didn't dare to put it in the space directly. He was afraid that the space would return to its original source and digest it. A large tube of blood was taken. Ron entered the space. When he went to the vampire world, Ron put all the equipment in the space. I thought it could be used in the new world. Unexpectedly, it is useless in the vampire world. Instead, I used it after I came back. No need to return to the villa laboratory. It's much more convenient. Brown bear serum. Ron made it for the first time. I still made a custom version of Happy. But there are memories of 2 scientific research masters. He pinched it with ease. The recovery of brown bear serum ability is incomparable to lizard serum. He thought about it. I extracted a little lizard gene and melted it into it. Can't do broken limb reborn. It can also speed up recovery. It's already very good. Moreover, lizard serum is mainly focused on recovery. Power, speed, endurance, etc. are supplemented. But brown bear serum mainly focuses on strength and endurance. It can be imagined. Happy will become a human-shaped tank. Everything is done. Ron looked at the time. Just 1 hour has passed. Get up and return. On the way back, just as Ron came over the suburbs of New York. Suddenly, there was a factory entrance. The busy crowd attracted his attention. He acted quickly and every move revealed the breadth of training. Soldier. This is a hidden secret base. Ron glanced a few times and didn't care much. After all, there are ambitious people everywhere. It's just a few secret bases, which is normal. Nick Fury is the only one. Almost all over the world, all major cities, have a secret base. It's just big and small. Ron was about to withdraw his gaze. The picture in front of him suddenly magnified. This is the armor that has adjusted the screen according to his eyes. Ron was just about to turn it off without caring. A sudden pause. His eyes were fixed on the picture. Above, a group of people were carrying a body. The body. The skin is red all over. There is also a pointed tail that sways as it is transported. The familiar corpse aroused memories deep in Ron's brain. Mutant Brotherhood's Red Devil. Chapter 62. Hurry, hurry up, all move quickly. Colonel Stryker, let us send the body to base 2 within an hour. Everything is quick, don't waste time. The colonel is angry at that time, don't blame me for pushing you out and being punished. Fake. Who, look at him when you move. You stepped on his tail. I'm still watching. You're raising your feet. Mad. I can't do any small things well. At the base gate. The person in charge of transporting the bodies was constantly directed. I saw who did not do well. From time to time I curse a few words. A group of special forces soldiers had a gloomy face. Silently. In fact, I had long wanted to let this person in charge who could only talk to death. What's the use? Relying on the acceptance of the colonel. The whole world is the eldest, the second colonel, and the third. 7 were dissatisfied with 8 were resentful. Several people carrying the body looked at each other. Pooh. What's it? A Euro swoosh. A Euro trademark. A sharp sound of wind broke through. Then there was a bang. They were stunned. What sound? Subconsciously looking in the direction of the sound. Mom messed with Farkey. Really dead? I saw the factory entrance. The person in charge who was cursing just now. There was a black object stuck in the forehead. Insert very deeply. Only a ring was left exposed. Is this, flying darts? Flying darts? Several people's pupils contracted. There is an enemy. However, the person has not shouted out yet. Dozens of figures suddenly appeared around. Then dozens of black lights passed by. A Euro bang 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 bang. A Euro trademark. A series of sounds of falling to the ground. None of the people present was standing. Everyone has 1 or 2 hidden weapons inserted into them. It's either the heart or the head. At this time, a person walked out of dozens of figures. With a light leap, I came to a pile of corpses. He raised his hand and waved his hand and threw the corpse on it away. The Red Devil's corpse below was revealed. The body was covered with large file-size small scars. Obviously, he was tortured to death during the experiment. Even the famous Red Devil cannot escape the hearts of the people. The next second, the Red Devil's corpse disappeared. Dozens of figures around him also quickly disappeared in the distance. Come quickly and walk quickly. Less than half a minute. If it weren't for the dozen bodies at the entrance of the factory. It's not like an attack at all. When the guards inside came out, there was no figure. Multiple shadow duplication is really useful. It doesn't require much strength to deal with ordinary people. Shadow duplication is simply perfect. The attacker was Ron. He fell in love with the Red Devil's ability. Move in infinite moments. Fly Thor's enhanced plus max version. There is no need to leave a mark, just move wherever you want. No cooling, no preparation is required. Simple and convenient. It can be called a powerful weapon for sneak attacks and escapes. And the upper limit is extremely high. It is said that it has reached the extreme development and can teleport at will. You can even teleport together with a building and an island. From a certain perspective, it is much stronger than Kamartaj's magic portal. I didn't expect that there would be unexpected surprises. Ron enters the space excitedly. The fog is so rich that it is half as thick as the third generation of Thunder Shadows. The Red Devil is definitely a shadow level strength. Not an ordinary shadow level yet. The combat power must be at least 7/800. Even because of his special ability, thousands are possible. Unfortunately, compared to the third generation of Thunder Shadows, the body is too fragile. It's just barely able to withstand the pistol bullets. If it were the body of the third generation of Thunder Shadow, the Red Devil can definitely fight Hulk. It's all Ron's now. With Ron entering the space, fog swarmed in. There was a lot of fog, but Ron was now stronger. It absorbs faster. Just a few minutes. It absorbs the fog. Combat power plus 36, €. The strength of the Red Devil is indeed the same as he estimates. When he is below the shadow level, Connors, who has about 500 combat power, only added 30 to him. Ron is all the movie level, and he can add 36 more. The combat power is almost around 7/800. No, not stop. The Red Devil was tortured to death. The energy of the body has long been no longer the peak. It is estimated that when he is alive, his combat power can reach the senior shadow level. Definitely, even if you die, eat a Euro trademark is useless no matter how strong you are. The added combat power is just the icing on the cake. Ron's biggest gain is the super ability from the Red Devil. Instant movement. If the distance is ignored and the energy in the body is sufficient, you can move to anywhere you have been to in an instant. And you can carry objects or living things. A note, Thor integrated with flying. Derived special effects. A special effects? Ron tried it. He can mark any independent object, or a person. Similar to the flying Thor mark. As long as the mark exists, he can transfer the other party out of thin air. Likewise, any place he has been to can be transferred. Ron is not only not cooled when used. The teleportation distance is far more than that of Thor. The consumption is far lower than that of flying Thor. If he flew Thor, his current energy. At most, it can only be teleport for dozens of kilometers. It has to be stamped in advance. It can teleport, and he can teleport thousands of kilometers directly. As long as he knows, he can reach it with one thought. Moreover, even if you take people to teleport, the consumption will not increase. It's simply amazing. After Ron tried super ability, he was suddenly stunned. Wait, isn't that saying? I'm in New York, and if I want to, I can teleport back to Villa Malibu at any time. Hold the grass. Chapter 63. Except for instant movement. Ron also got another ability. Energy abstraction. It can absorb unowned energy in the universe. Let the energy in your body slowly increase. Ron had similar ability before. But it cannot be improved. What is his originally upper limit? The energy absorbed is at most. Now, he has another way to become stronger. It's just too slow and looks very useless. I want to rely on energy absorbing to reach the shadow level. It will take at least 20 years. After 20 years, he didn't know how strong he was. I've driven the Gundam a long time ago, and I've stepped on it for thousands of hands. It's better than nothing. Ron shook his head. No more attention. Turn your head and take out a tube of blood. He sighed. Happy, I really don't know if you are lucky or if I am lucky. I can actually encounter the Red Devil's corpse. God doesn't want to use ordinary beast serum. Mutant serum, different from beast serum. Different genes. Ron also needs to try to determine the effect. However, this world. There are not many anything, there are many scumbags who deserve to be damned. Leave a message to Happy and the others. He said he would have to wait a while after he came back. Ron teleports directly into the prison. I found a few guys who were extremely guilty and could not get out of their way until they died. He decisively knocked out and brought it out. The experiment has been found. Entering the space, a bottle of serum was made. A Europa. A Euro trademark. A slap awakens a criminal. You are. Just as he was about to speak, Ron blocked his mouth. Inject the serum into it. Watching him change color continuously. Ron shook his head in disappointment. Mad, the gene extraction was wrong. How did you extract it to change the skin color? He slapped to death with a casual slap. Ron continues to make the next one. Every time one is successfully produced, Ron makes improvements based on the effect. Teleports as soon as you sneeze, no. Energy absorbing only, no. Teleportation ability is weak, no. Finally, it's the last one. Ron integrates the Red Devil and the Brown Bear serum. Have the powerful strength and body of the Brown Bear. Ability that can quickly heal minor injuries. And energy absorbing. Also use a weakened version of instant movement. The weakened version moves instantly, and the distance is shortened. Consumption becomes more. You can still bring people. But teleporting people, the consumption doubles. The more people there are, the farther the distance, the greater the consumption. What's more, it depends on Happy's own development. Everything ended successfully. Ron no longer delays. Put away the steel armor. If there is teleportation, who can fly? In an instant, Ron disappeared from the spot. Only a few corpses full of sin were left in the mountains and forests. Not long after, suddenly the woods swayed. Beast, attracted by the smell of blood, got out. Hospital ward. Gwen and his two only felt their eyes blurred. Ron appeared in front of the two. Sorry, it's been a little longer. It took 1 hour to make brown bear serum. Later, it was delayed for more than an hour because of the red devil serum. It took nearly 3 hours to go back and forth. Don't grow or not, Ron, have you succeeded? Happy rubbed her hands, looking impatient. Look left and right on Ron. Don't look at it. Ron covered his crotch. Although we are still very big when we don't Euro trademark T stand up. Much like a bottle of serum. But, really, it's not, okay. Turn your hand and remove the enhanced serum. After adding the red devil's ability. It can be called the +++ version. Happy quickly took the serum. Ron, what kind of serum am I? Tiger? Lion? Ron raised his eyebrows. Boar. Ah. Happy looked sad. Gripped his teeth. That's a wild boar. Anyway, I believe you will definitely not cheat me. This wild boar serum must have something to offer. After saying that, Happy pierced directly into her shoulder and injected into her body. I am nervously looking forward to the arrival of strength. Gwen stood beside Ron, too. Look carefully. She was bitten by a spider. This is the first time I have seen this kind of serum injection. Very curious. Ron saw it a lot. However, the hospital environment is not suitable. Ron grabbed Happy in one hand. Holding Gwen with one hand. A Euro swish. A Euro trademark. The three disappeared in the ward. Appeared in a deserted forest. Before Gwen could be surprised by the changes in the environment. Happy suddenly screamed. Blue veins all over the body bulged. Brown hair began to grow all over his body. Then, the muscles swelled. In just a short moment, Happy turned from a plump fat man. Turned into a 3-meter-tall muscle bear. Looking at Happy, Ron muttered to himself. It seems that we can return to Malibu. 64. The giant bear's appearance can be seen vaguely. After transforming, the exaggerated sense of physical strength is full of exaggerated feeling. With his violent body and instant movement, as long as he has a certain combat experience, he can even deal with hatred. But at the moment, Happy's eyes were scarlet and full of ferociousness. Obviously, like John Wick, he was tortured by severe pain and was mentally unnatural. However, the serum of Happy was specially customized by Ron. With qualitative compensation, in order to prevent Happy from being unable to bear it, Ron specially reduced the amount a little. Even so, the potential is definitely stronger. The Sharingan appeared in Ron's eyes, and his huge mental power instantly made Happy enter an illusion and stood there blankly. Suddenly, Happy's face changed and she showed a sluggish smile. His eyes narrowed, he kept rubbing his hands, grinning with his big mouth, saliva at the corners of his mouth, and his whole body was extremely vulgar. Hold the grass. Ron did nothing, which was the most relaxing thing in Happy's heart. Let him immerse himself in it and vent the anger caused by the severe pain. Why is he so vulgar? What is the most relaxing thing? Ron's eyes twitched, and he couldn't stand it anymore. If you look at it, you have to wash your eyes with the grid. Let the steel armor monitor him. He took Gwen away. 1 hour later. Ron sent Gwen home righteously. A.A.R.V.I.S. How is the strength of villas in Malibu? A Euro sir, out. Mr. Tony Stark asked me to tell you that everything is okay. Ron's face turned dark. Tell him that he can't stop me from going back, or when he dies, I'll sell the Stark Group and let Pepper marry Happy. Sissy Ron is waiting for you to come back. I must have a battle between men with you. A Euro Sissy. Everything is normal, but according to the news from Colonel Rhodes, Killian has a 50% chance of starting to act. J.A.R.V.I.S. answer was mixed with some boring voices. Ron ignored. Okay, I got it. 07. Back to the deserted mountains and forests. Looking at Happy who has returned to normal. It's time for us to go back to Malibu. Happy Bear was excited. I can't wait. Sir, MARK-31 piston was attacked. Sir, MARK-31 piston has been damaged. The silent villa was instantly activated by the voice of JARVIS. Tony raised his head suddenly, his eyes were surprised and puzzled, and finally turned into sudden anger. J.A.R.V.I.S. informed Pepper and John Wick. He himself quickly put on his armor and rushed out of the villa. You should know that more than 40 sets of armor are within a 10-kilometer range. Each armor is directly controlled by JARVIS. This means that if the enemy really wants to attack, they will face more than 40 top-level artificial intelligence. Moreover, the silo also controls satellite surveillance. The enemy still destroyed a war armor quietly. That's a satellite. Tony understands what this means. He rushed out of the villa quickly. The enemy also knew that they had been discovered, so they simply stopped hiding. There were steel armor around, and the sound of fighting against the enemy came. At the same time, over the sea in the distance, several black dots flew towards the villa with armed helicopter. Inside the armor, Tony looked at the enlarged screen of the armor and gritted his teeth. The other party has indeed helped. First, they blocked the satellites, and then gave them to the other side's helicopter. Fortunately, Ron reminded him, he prepared in advance and sent Ron to New York. No matter how strong Ron is, he cannot resist missiles with his body. What? Adamantium armor? What if the other party throws a nuclear bomb in a daze? It's not without a criminal record. If it weren't for protecting the Earth. After the war in New York ended, he rushed into the White House and killed everything he should have killed. With preparation, Tony did not let the battlefield break out near the other male. Drive the armor and rushed up. Meanwhile, in the villa, Pepper and John Wick rushed out. I'll go and deal with them. John Wick turned into a big lizard. He jumped away at the desperate warrior who was fighting against the steel armor. Tony looked at Pepper. Pepper, go too. Compared to Killian, it is obvious that ordinary warriors have less threats. As the two joined the battle, most of the desperate warriors rushed towards the two. Their purpose is to kill people, not to dismantle machines. If a person dies, no matter how many armors are, it will be useless. However, this also allows more armor to take action. Under Tony's command, fly to the helicopter in the sky. Not far from the villa, Rumlow led the agent team and looked at several battlefields, at a loss. No, door? During the New York War, the alien invasion, most of them were miscellaneous soldiers, so Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye could intervene. What's wrong? I don't even have a miscellaneous soldier when I fight. Looking around, no one is an ordinary person. Either the titanium alloy steel armor or the body is covered with red light. The hot breath and the scorching air were twisted. Is this what they can intervene? Using a gun? I am afraid that the bullet will melt into water as soon as it touches the other party. No wonder, when they arrived, Tony had no arrangements for any tasks, and just asked them to patrol everywhere. This is not because I look down on them, but because I really didn't Euro trademark TC them. Rumlow gritted his teeth and issued an order that would be supported according to the situation. A Euro trademark, he cursed in his heart, damn it, why didn't you bring heavy firearms? No one knows their ideas, nor does anyone care about them, which affects the overall situation. Just as Tony and dozens of armor surrounded, the helicopters in the distance launched a decisive attack. More than a dozen micro-missiles spewed flames and rushed towards the three of them roaring. He was still fighting John Wick without any consideration. Without Tony's command, J.A.R.V.S launched the interception. If you can use missiles to intercept, you can use missiles. If you don't Euro trademark T have time to intercept, you will directly hit the armor. In an instant. In the sky, firework exploded. A Euro rumbling. The explosion kept ringing in my ears. Seeing that Tony was ready, the helicopter's attack could not work, Killian decisively let the helicopter descend. When there were still dozens of meters, I jumped off the plane with my men, including Killian, and there were 7 people in total. Everyone was filled with a hot light, and underneath their bodies, there was a surging magma. At this moment, a strange idea emerged in Tony's mind. A Euro, the body is full of magma, has the bone melted? A Euro trademark A Euro, what are they supporting their bodies? A Euro trademark A Euro, where is the brain that stores consciousness? A Euro trademark A Euro, there is the most important thing, what about the little brother who passed on the family line? A Euro, unfortunately, Killian is destined not to give him an answer. Killian had no villain style at all. When he came up, he didn't say a word and just started to do it. The 7 people raised their hands and 7 rays of hot energy fell on the 7 armors. In just a few seconds. Tony's ears came a prompt from JARVIS MARK30 blue steel is damaged and cannot fight. MARK28 Jack is damaged and cannot fight. Listening to the prompt, Tony looked ugly. Just as soon as we met, we suffered a lot of losses. Moreover, the detected temperature is more than 3000. The warriors fighting John Wick released a temperature of about 3000. The temperature of the 6 people around Killian even reached 5000. And Killian has reached 8000. You know, his armor material is gold titanium alloy, and with his improvement, the melting point is barely more than 2500. SHIELD. In front of Nick Fury, there is the battlefield live broadcast. It is not broadcast through satellite live broadcast, but a broadcast conducted by the Rumlow team shooting equipment. His face was dark now and he couldn't even see his facial features. Phil Coulson, what do you say over Rose? Why has the hatred not arrived yet? Although John Wick transformed into a lizardman, he gave him a little surprise. But in his opinion, it was just that, far less than hatred, and even less as Hulk. Not to mention strength, even defense is far behind. You know, as a pirated copy of Hulk. Even if you hate it, you can knock out RPG rockets with bare hands and resist micro-missiles. Nick Fury had no doubt at all. As long as it is not a nuclear bomb, Hulk can resist it without death, but now, several hours have passed. The battle has begun, and the hatred has not arrived yet. What's going on? Moreover, they actually dared to block satellites. Even the satellites of S.H.I.E.L.D. are blocked. After the Battle of New York, his SHIELD director's deterrence was unprecedented. Anyone dare not give him face? Boss, hatred is on the way and will be here soon. Phil Coulson looked serious. However, I have urged him several times before, but General Ross has been dragging him down again and again. It was not until the news came from Villa Malibu that I let it go. General Ross delayed and satellite shielded, so Nick Fury didn't understand what was going on. On the surface, Tony is a battlefield, but in fact, there is another battlefield in the dark. Those bastards are so crazy. That's Tony Stark. Howard Stark's biological son. They actually dare to murder. Howard's connections can be said to be spread all over the country, but they dare to do it too? A cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Phil Coulson, check it out. Find out who is behind the scenes. We can ignore it, but we must never be ignorant of it. After finding out, give Stark a copy of the news. Yes, boss. Phil Coulson also looked cold. Stark was more than just a member of the Avengers. He is also an investor of S.H.I.E.L.D, plus top technical personnel. In another office, Pierce stared at the battlefield with a burning gaze. Contrary to Nick Fury, he placed more emphasis on John Wick. Two identical lizard men represent their replicability. And Hydra, the most important thing is people. In Malibu, the battle continues. 753 John Wick is powerful, has rich combat experience, and has broken limb reborn ability. But he is not Wolverine after all, and he still has weaknesses. If the heart and head suffer severe damage, you will also die. Although those desperate warriors, Wan Huang is not as good as him. But there are also dozens of tons of huge force, coupled with the hot energy, which can easily break his defense. 1v1, he is confident that he can instantly. But 1v5, or even 1v10, he was completely restrained. The desperate warrior was once a special warrior, and his combat skills were not weak at all. John Wick, at the beginning, while they were careless, they separated the two people with their claws. After that, no enemy was killed. And John Wick is the case, let alone Pepper. She has only recently made up for combat knowledge. Without any combat experience, she cannot cause effective damage at all. Even if there is an intelligent system, the satellite can be blocked. The armor cannot be monitored without blind spots in 360 degrees. In the battle with desperate warriors, I was always at a disadvantage. Fortunately, the other party can't fly and cannot hurt Ed Alloy. After confirming that he was absolutely safe, Pepper simply gave up on defense. Adamantium's sharp blade slashed a desperate warrior into two halves with one knife. Under a brainless attack. Instead, it began to make the other party afraid. It barely held back most of the enemies. The most intense battlefield belongs to Tony and Killian. Armors rushed forward. Then it was broken by Killian's men. Tony came on stage in person. Want to beat Killian quickly with the adamantium coating. However, he paid too much attention to temperature and ignored Killian's power. Killian blocked Tony's fist and turned around and grabbed the gap in the armor. With all his strength, the armor shell was directly pulled down. Inside the mask, Tony's face changed. Tony Stark, didn't expect this day. You are dead today, no one can save you. Through the armor anti-peeping film, Killian and Tony's eyes were facing each other. He smiled grimly and reached out to his face mask. Tony. I'm here, with a roar. A huge body, 3 meters high and 2 meters wide, appeared out of thin air. Killian flew backwards with a punch. The huge figure kept blowing into his fists. Hair is so hot. Tony looked at the other person's slightly familiar face and was stunned. Mom is FG Farkey. Are you happy? Where is Ron? 65. Tony, I'll come in time. Ha ha ha. Happy looked back at Tony, laughing excitedly. An enemy that Tony can't beat was beaten away by him. Wouldn't it mean that he is better than Tony now? Happy finally deserves his name, Tony Stark's bodyguard. No need to listen to other people's gossip. Is he protecting Iron Man, or Iron Man protecting him? He heard these similar words countless times. He also experienced countless condemnations in his heart, if it weren't for the deep friendship with Tony. He had already proposed to resign. Now euro ha ha ha. See who dares to say that he is not worthy of being Tanya Euro trademark S bodyguard. Tony was shocked. This trademark turned out to be Happy? He is 3 meters tall and 2 meters wide. His arms are thicker than his thighs and his slap is bigger than his face. Such a guy is actually Happy? J.A.R.V.S, sir, according to comparison, 35% are Mr. Happy, 15% are wild boars, 25% are black bears, and 75% are brown bears. Tony's mouth twitched. Happy turned into a brown bear? Happy, is it you? Aren't you seriously injured? Seriously injured? Happy shook his head repeatedly. Tony, you read it wrong. The one who was injured was not me, but my twin brother. It's me now. I will never be injured. Just kidding, Lord Happy will never be hurt in the future. Is it jealous when his momentary movement? Grass. Protect Iron Man. So excited. Happy waved his hand and pushed Tony backwards. Tony, back up, I'm going to start, Fark squids. Before he could finish his words, a hot figure slammed violently on his chest. Huge amounts of impact and the explosion of energy directly knocked Happy out. Just as he was about to hit the villa, Happy suddenly disappeared and appeared on the sea. He followed the sea and stirred up a row of waves up to 10 meters high. Finally, he fell heavily into the sea and sank. All this happened in the blink of an eye, and Happy had only time to leave angrily scolding. Tony didn't know how far he flew, but he couldn't see anybody anyway. However, at that moment, Tony saw the strength of Happy's body. If you don't Euro trademark T say anything else, you are Euro trademark really resistant to beating. Killian's attack did not even penetrate the flesh on his chest. Hey? Killian? Tony was startled and quickly retreated. He was stunned for such an important situation, if Killian reacted. There was no Happy by his side, and no one blocked the other for him. But when he retreated, Tony found out. Killian was also stunned, looking at the direction where Happy flew out, his face full of incredible surprise. He was stunned for such a Happy. But how did Happy become like this? Brown Bear. Wait. John Wick. Super Serum. Ron. I guessed it right, but there is no reward. A familiar voice suddenly came to Tony's ear. He turned his head with a complicated expression. Ron, you. Looking at the worry in Tony's eyes, there was more happiness and relief. Ron chuckled, don't worry, leave me the next battle, they can't live. Grasping Tony's arm, he instantly moved to a short distance from the villa. Ignore Tony's surprised look, Ron turned around and returned to the battlefield again. In front of Tony's invisible, Ron's eyes were cold. All of them will die. Trademark not only Killian and his men, but also the guys behind the scenes. He was surprised when he watched a movie in his previous life. How could Tony Stark's villa be attacked? No warning was received in advance. Not to mention, Tony is also Howard's son, and the villas in Malibu is a gathering place for the rich. There is also JARVIS. This Marvel world is called a bug-free artificial intelligence. It turns out that everything has a reason. Ron also communicated with J.A.R.V.I.S and found out that someone had blocked its surveillance. Ron glanced at Quinjet flying in the distance and curled his lips. Is S.H.I.E.L.D even held back? Support is only here now. But it doesn't matter. Ron Stark. Killian looked him up and down. After being strengthened by Extremis, his facial features were also magnified many times. The distance of dozens of meters is clear. I know you are a supernatural, well, a supernatural with a physical strength. Do you think you are my opponent? Do you think you can kill me? Ron grinned, you'll know soon. After the words came to an end, Ron slapped his hands, In an instant, a royal wall several meters thick and hundreds of meters long rose from the ground. In the blink of an eye, it reached hundreds of meters high, definitely without a dog's head carved on it. Ron used soil efflux walls to separate the battlefield from the villa to avoid exposure. After all, he lives in Villa Malibu and the view is beautiful. This amazing scene left everyone stunned, especially Tony who was standing on the wall of the king. He subconsciously stomped his feet, strong, very strong, stronger than steel. How did Ron do it? Could it be that he is really mutant? But in mutant, is there anyone who can have several ability at the same time? If he remembers correctly, Ron's physical strength controls lightning and controls the king. Tony suddenly realized that he knew too little about Ron. On the battlefield, Ron's smile became bigger and teleported one after another, sending John Wick and Pepper out of the battlefield. He turned his head and looked at Killian and others. You are so angry, let me lower the fire for you. Who will repair the water escape dam? Already close to the sea, Ron's shadow level strength, plus all the ability of Tomomi Senju. Water escape, in his hands, turned directly into sea escape and tsunami. The huge waves carried the sky turning momentum and rushed in unstoppable. The huge waves dozens of meters high came to him in an instant and took pictures at Killian and others. At this moment, everyone who witnessed this scene felt their own insignificance in their hearts. In the face of the tsunami, humans cannot even be considered a small boat. The next second, Killian and others disappeared into the waves. The original beach has become a vast ocean. For desperate warriors, there is nothing better punishment than drowning them in the water, just to cool them down. Oh no, yes, it's frozen in the ice, but unfortunately Ron doesn't know how to escape ice for the time being. After a few breaths, I looked at the scene in front of me with satisfaction. He is an immortal body, and the energy mass in his body is higher than that of Chakra. He can at least let his mother go with such a water escape ninjutsu. This is because the reason was that the first teleportation was used to return to the villa and then the soil flow wall was used, otherwise it could be doubled. Standing on the wall of soil evaporation, Tony and the other two were numb. He admitted that he was superficial, that was controlling soil, that was clearly controlling nature. Who controls the land and is a 100-meter high earth wall? The hardness of the earth wall is even worse than that of granite. He suspected that the missile might not be able to be broken if it hits it. Lita Euro trademark S look at the ability who controls water. This is not the control of water, it is clearly the god of sea. Ron just took a trident, with a crown, and stood on the waves naked. Looking at the sea water that kept hitting the earth wall under her feet, Tony and the other three twitched their eyes, and for the first time they really met Ron. In the distance, on the sea, a big black head floated out of the water. It was Happy who was knocked away before. At this moment, his bare eyes with green bean file size turned into red beans. Looking at the various fish in the vast ocean, murmured in his mouth. Mom, fortunately, I'm heavy, otherwise I wouldn't have been wrapped and photographed on the shore just now like those fish. Aaron said, my serum integrates the mutant red devil Euro trademark S genes. If I integrate Ron's genes, I can't become a sea god, and I guess I can still make Aquaman. Definitely, he just said that he was so satisfied with the current ability, Happy was so satisfied that he could not be satisfied anymore. It has strong power, can teleport, and can recover quickly. What other bicycles do you need? I rubbed the chest that was injured by Killian before. The piece was no different from being injured except that it was hairless. With a moment of thought, he disappeared into the sea and appeared beside Tony. Ron also came to the earth wall of the earth flow wall. Killian and others were just photographed on the bottom of the sea, and there was extremist strengthening and they couldn't die. But, it is certain that the discomfort is unfair. Anyone who has been soaked in the seawater knows that the seawater is capricious. Even if the water surface is calm, the undercurrent at the bottom of the water has never stopped. No matter how strong the power is, as long as you cannot overturn the sea, you can only go with the flow. Killian and the others can't fly, there is nowhere to borrow power in the sea, so they won't think of it in a short time. Ron didn't plan to let them out, so he sucked for a while before talking. Standing on the earthen wall, looking at the Kunwu fighter jet in the distance. At the moment, Quinjet had stopped, the hatch opened, and a figure like a beast rushed out of the fighter plane. The huge body, nearly 3 meters high, jumped from nearly 1,000 meters away to the earthen wall. With a loud bang, the entire soil flow wall vibrated. Abominable. Looking at the guy who looked like a big green nose, Tony frowned. This guy is not a good guy. Just turned into abomination, almost destroying a block, but Hulk defeated him. If he hadn't seen Quinjet and knew that this was S.H.I.E.L.D's support, he would have taken the initiative to attack. That S.H.I.E.L.D, let me support it, where is the enemy? Can you be enemies? He grinned with his hideous mouth, stepped on the earth-flowing wall, and stomped hard with his feet. The cracks spread down along the soil flow wall. In an instant, the earth walls of dozens of meters ranged were like porcelain with cracks. Fortunately, Ron's energy was maintained inside, otherwise, with just one kick, Wang Liubi would collapse halfway. This is his protection to block the seawater. I was going to make trouble for him as soon as I came. Should I support them or support the enemy? Grass. Don't a Euro trademark T worry, he is not upset, so beat him first. Ron narrowed his eyes slightly, and in an instant, he turned on the thunder escape mode, released the thousand-handed monster power, his body surface was surrounded by lightning, and then disappeared from the spot. When he appeared again, he was already in front of him, and he punched him in the face. With a click sound, my chin shattered and my huge body soared into the sky. It brought out a wave of air, with a sonic boom, and flew out hundreds of meters in an instant. What a terrible self-healing ability, Ron clearly saw it, still in mid-air, his chin, which had just been smashed, had recovered as before. It's just because I have nowhere to leverage my power in the air, and I hate my body that cannot stop flying backwards. However, his hideous eyes were staring at Ron. It seemed as if he would tear Ron to pieces in the next second. Looking at the hated eyes, Ron's mouth curled and disappeared from the spot again. When he came to the path of Abominable flying backwards, he shot with a strong kick, and Abominable flew out of the sonic boom again. Bang 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 bang. Then, Ron was everywhere in the sky. Ron constantly teleports, hating him like a football, kicking around. Hatred also kept waving his hand, trying to catch the teleport Ron. However, Ron, who opened the Sharingan, was far from his comparison in terms of dynamic perception or reaction speed. Every time he counterattacked, Ron easily avoided it, and then, his body, which had nowhere to leverage, a sonic boom sounded again. The battle had already begun, and the news had spread, so there was no need to block satellites. Therefore, places like S.H.I.E.L.D have long been watching the battle through satellites. At this moment, Tony and everyone watching here all had their eyes and pupils shook violently. No, their eyes are not blurred, right? The powerful beast that can only be locked in vibranium cage was actually kicked as a ball at this moment. This is abomination. It's not football. It is also because they know the power of hatred that they find out how fishy Ron is playing with hatred at this moment. I'm afraid that in this world, people who can completely suppress Ron are just one-handed. In other words, Ron's strength can make it into the top 10? He is almost invincible. Tony and the other three were shocked and lost their minds. Nick Fury was excited and coveted, while Pierce had a solemn expression, and Hydra had another big threat. Li Lehao, Ron, who was fighting, had a slightly solemn expression. It seemed that he was traumatizing hatred, but in fact, he did not cause any harm to hatred at all. At this moment, he realized that he had underestimated the extraordinary people in the Marvel world before. He once thought that this was just over the New York War, because there were not many. How strong can you be? Hulk is so strong. Now Ron can only say that Hulk is worthy of being Hulk, and a Hulk is enough. Even the hatred catalyzed by Hulk's blood can only be suppressed by teleportation. Just suppression, it won't hurt at all. It sounds like a drumstick, but it's actually like pounding cowhide with drumsticks. The skin was sunken and popped up again in a blink of an eye. Only with a fragile place such as the chin, Ron can temporarily break the bones with one full blow. Such as arm bones, leg bones, spine, and even ribs. Not to mention breaking, Ron's foot would be bounced away as soon as he kicked it. Ron's face was solemn. I made a mistake in the estimate, and Tsunade at her peak was not as good as Abomination. Even if Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya go together, they will eventually win if they hate each other. If you want to defeat him, I'm afraid that Hashirama Senju will come in person. This is just a hatred. If Hulk had it, it would have been a bad idea for Shinmara Kawara. Shinju Hashirama Senju will definitely not be a rival to Flame Giant Surti. Hulk's fists and the hammered Surti were screaming. If it were the real thousands of hands, they would have to be dismantled directly. Empty. Force me to get bigger. You can't Euro trademark T pretend to be half pretending. What a Euro trademark S the difference between pretending to be half pretending and not pretending. Could it be that after a while, I hate the saying the massage is very comfortable that makes people laugh? Ron stopped the rhythm of the attack and stood on the sea with his feet. Green flames soar into the sky. Super League, not right. It's the 8th gate Dunjia, the 7th gate Jingmen, open. 66. Hatred took this opportunity to finally get out of the situation of being unilaterally beaten. He grinned and roared at Ron, little guy, you're looking for death. No one dared to beat him like this except Hulk. Ron must die today, no one can save him, Hulk cannot do it. Hatred roared, and was about to rush up and kill Ron. Suddenly, he looked at Ron with a startled look, and he looked at him in surprise. I saw a green energy flame suddenly rise from Ron. The momentum is completely different from before, not right. ETA Euro trademark is completely different. If that is, Ron before gave him the feeling of trying to hurt humans. Now, Ron is a leopard. The amazing momentum made him feel the threat of death. Ron really has the ability to kill him? Seeing the look of hatred and hesitation, Ron raised his lips slightly. Aren't you going to kill me? Why don't you take action? If you don't do it, I'll come here, don't say I won't give you a chance and bully you. After Ron finished speaking, he caught a glimpse of the heads floating on the water, kicked them back under the water with both feet, and rushed towards the aversion. Killian etal, so? Tony for a euro. Ron just rushed out halfway and his figure suddenly disappeared. Hatred is already extremely familiar with the momentary movement. He noticed movement behind him and punched him. *J+. Hatred's pupil shrank, and he obviously hit it, but Ron dispersed like smoke. I'm here. Ron's voice came from the side. I was shocked by Hatred, but it was too late to turn around. The next second, I felt a huge amounts of force hitting his shoulders. A euro crack, a euro trademark. The shoulder bone was cracked for the first time. Just broken up by Hatred, definitely is a shadow duplication. ETA euro trademark s. Not that Hatred is unresponsive, but that Ron caught him off guard before. It was purely because of the poor information that the group was always being beaten. If you get beaten up and have no defense, it will be a waste of time. What a pity, it's a brain, but not much. So, he got beaten again. It is still original, but this time it is quite a bit amazing. The last time the food was not cooked, this time the food was gradually moving away from the pot. The sound of bang bang was mixed with the sound of cracking bones. Seeing that it became a hatred of the ball again, the body began to show a 913 twist without rule. Ron, who has opened the 7th gate of the 8th gate, can already hurt him. It's just that although it can hurt muscles and bones, the recovery speed is too fast. If Ron stops the attack, it takes less than 10 minutes to repel the hatred. It seems I need some tools. Ron's thought moved and he had an extra weapon in his hand. When Tony made him protective armor, he used the extra adamantium to create a short handle. The third round begins. Big snot sperm, I'll let you recover. In his hand, adamantium's short knife swung out after image, constantly cutting and slashing on hatred. When he watched movies in his previous life, he hated and disliked him. Not to mention the ugly color, there are many inexplicable bone spurs on the body. How to describe that disgusting feeling? It's like a white toilet with a few black spots. I always want to flush it down. This is not called cleanliness or obsessive compulsive disorder, it is really too disgusting. This is the same with bone spurs on the body of hatred. Those bone spurs, as soon as they appeared, made people feel disgusted and kept attracting Ron's attention. Now, looking at Hades' smooth appearance, Ron felt much more comfortable in his heart. Hatred didn't even feel the pain, and his bone spurs disappeared. He was so scared that his soul was rising. When Ron's eyes were finally no longer full of ferocious murderous intent. Frightened and afraid, cutting off all limbs can swell, but he was afraid. Ron took his knife and took his head as unnecessary. Then it's really over, it won't be back. A euro swish, a euro trademark adamantium. A euro trademark S short knife penetrated straight into the clavicle of hatred and penetrated out along the back of the stamina. As long as Ron puts a little force and turns his wrist, he can cut off his head. Suddenly, hatred didn't dare to move, and the fist that was originally raised froze in the air. Ron smiled at him. You said you want to kill me? Do you think you can kill me? A euro. Hatred shook his head repeatedly, trying to defend himself. But Ron shook his hand holding the knife and shouted loudly, shut up. He was so scared that he trembled his body and hurriedly closed his mouth. A euro trademark. Ron slapped him in the face, looking disgusted. Don't stand so close to me in the future, don't you know, Abf, is foul-mouthed. Yes. Just as he was about to apologize, Hatred suddenly caught a glimpse of Ron's fierce eyes and quickly turned his head. I'm sorry, I understand. Yet. Ron nodded in satisfaction and pulled out the short knife. The bloody short knife patted the hated face gently. Also, remember to brush your teeth in the future. When I saw you didn't brush your teeth, I still praised you, do you know? The corner of his hatred twitched, and he nodded repeatedly in front of Ron's eyes. I understand. I understand. Ron, okay, aren't you here to support me? Go and kill Killian and his group, and no one left. Killian and others, who looked not far away, looked down on the rocks, blinked. No, I'll take action. Ron looked over. Okay, okay. I'll go now. Haha quickly bent his legs, crossed hundreds of meters away, and landed beside Killian and others. He raised his feet, stepped on them hard. One kick is like stepping on a watermelon, killing all the people. Ron originally wanted to try to put Killian into space and absorb it. But unexpectedly, with the death, the extremis in Killian seemed to have lost control. It suddenly exploded, burning the body to charcoal, and with a light touch, it broke into pieces and scattered all over the ground. Mixed with mud and water on the ground. A euro, this is a big deal, and it saves cremation. Ron suddenly glanced at the hatred beside him. Should he kill him and absorb it? But looking at the green skin that hated the shit, he quickly gave up the idea. Forget it, I'm afraid I'll be infected by him too. If this turns into a green skin, it would be better to commit suicide and reopen it. Hatred has no idea that he has escaped because of his skin color. He felt a chill on his back, turned his head and looked at it, but found nothing unusual. Just think that after Ron cut off the bone spur on his back, his body was a little uncomfortable. The battle ended and the enemy died. Tony and the other two came to Ron. The battle is over, Ron, aren't you injured? Tony's expression was complicated. He didn't expect that the enemy was so vulnerable in front of Ron, but instead came to support his and others' hatred and was beaten. No wonder Ron, who made the hatred come to the world, the second, and the third. What he didn't expect was that his brother's strength was so fishy. Even hatred can be pressed and beaten. If you put it in the Avengers, Hulk is better than Ron at present. Thor's stupid guy relied on that Mjolnir. If he made a better weapon for Ron, Thor might not be Ron's opponent. He didn't know that Thor's strength was far from reaching its peak. If you really burst out with potential, Thor can hammer Manhattan with just one blow. Ron glanced at the battle marks on them and looked at Tony. Tony, the battle is not over yet, and there are still some people who have not paid the price. Tony's eyes narrowed slightly, he knew what Zero Ver was talking about. 01460210 Fila 122543151. Whether it was Killian's armed helicopter or shielded satellites, it was proved that someone was helping him. Moreover, he is a very high-level person. But although Tony was angry, he still shook his head. It's over, we have no evidence, let's stop here. If he was the only one, he would have to ask for an explanation no matter what he said. But he also has Stark, Pepper, and Ron. Ron smiled and shook his head. Tony Stark is not a chess piece. Anyone who wants to take care of it, and use it if you want to take advantage of it. Besides, we are here and Stark is here. They dare to use methods other than rules, so they should be prepared for us to come up. Killian was just a pawn, and Ron was not relieved when he died. In the original drama, Tony is suspected of death, and no one wants Killian to avenge Tony. But when that President Ellis was arrested, everything was in chaos. CO authored by Tony Stark, isn't that important as him? Vice President Rodriguez was arrested and was only responsible for Ellis's affairs. It's definitely not because of Tony. Besides, if you are just arrested, you may not die, right? Ron, what do you want to do? Looking at Ron's firm expression, Tony made up his mind and stood on Ron's face. Go to TMD. Stark will be Ron's in the future anyway. He would do whatever he wanted. He would probably do this or that. Do you miss him, Tony Stark? Ron smiled, definitely, heal your chest first. In Ron's lab, Tony took off his top and lay flat on the bed. Looking at Ron nervously, here? Ron, this seems not to be a sterile operating room. Tony's voice was slightly trembling, and this was a little different from the surgery he imagined. Moreover, what about the tools used for surgery? What about the scalpel? Definitely, this is not the most important thing, the most important thing is, what about anesthesia? If you don't have anesthesia, just go straight? Tony swallowed and his eyes swept around. Mom messed with Farkey. You said you should treat me, it would be fine if you are here, because Pepper and the others are there? I am not afraid of being affected, my hands suddenly become unstable, will I let my brother die on the spot? I think you want to inherit Stark in advance. Tony was crying but looked at Ron's serious expression and sighed slightly. Close your eyes and wait for Ron to give him the next issue. Suddenly, he felt Ron start to move, and the miniature arc reactor on his chest was removed by Ron. Tony is waiting for a series of reactions, difficulty breathing, heart stinging, etc. But he didn't have any adverse reactions, but instead felt an extremely comfortable feeling from his chest. It was like when it was too hot, I took a bite of ice cream, and when it was biting cold, I took a sip of hot water. This made him cry out with great comfort. Subconsciously, he opened his eyes and saw that Pepper and others were staring at him. He looked down, his eyes suddenly widened and his pupils shrank violently. Ron held a green scalpel in his hand and even cut his chest open at some point. Hold the scalpel's hand was constantly releasing green energy and permeating into his body. And the other hand reached directly into his chest. Although Tony didn't know what he was doing, judging from the reaction inside his chest, he was obviously touching his heart with his hand and trying to remove the shrapnel. No, buddy. Is this how the surgery is done? Why doesn't a Euro trademark I feel pain at all? Not only did it not hurt, he was also extremely awake, as if the one who was opened was not him and the blood that was shed was not his. If he had known that the operation was so simple, he would have to worry that he would die on the operating table. Dingling chuck. As Ron took out his hand, a series of metal shrapnel fell. Tony quickly looked at it and saw several bloody shrapnel on the metal plate. Is this what tortured him for years? At this moment, Tony felt a little relieved, and it seemed that he had been reborn and was completely separated from the past. It was like he had completely changed someone and was born again. Under the treatment, Tony's chest healed quickly. Looking at Tony, who was a little pale face, Ron thought for a while and took out one of the serum potions left from the space. There is no special effect, nor will it change genes, it will only make the body stronger and have a certain recovery ability. To put it bluntly, it is to make up for the physical weakness from the genetic aspect. He didn't know, either, whether Tony wanted to use serum to change himself. If Tony wants it in the future, he will just customize one for him. With the infusion of serum potion, Tony's face became rosy and rosy with naked eyes. Get up. Ron patted him. Tony subconsciously turned over and stood up from the bed. He was stunned, blinking his eyes, and constantly groping in his chest with his hands. That's all? I'm fine. Even if he saw it with his own eyes, it still made him feel unbelievable. Definitely, it's simple. Ron shrugged at him. With the experience of 3 top-level movies including Hashirama, plus more than a dozen Yunin. For healing ninjutsu such as palm art, if you are a little proficient, you can say that you can use your hands and use it with instinct. Coupled with the rich human experiment experience of Tobirama Senju, the Sharingan's vision will definitely not be wrong. Tony moved his body and said in surprise, why do I feel like I didn't have surgery? Is my body strange at all? Ron nodded, the serum I injected you just now has the effect of making up for your physical deficit. Surgery, especially major surgery, is the most harmful to the body. If you don't trademark take good care of the disease after the operation, it is likely to leave sequelae. Ron's serum is in place in one step. Okay, Tony, now isn't the time to discuss this. I should go and meet the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and ask him if he knows this time. 67. S.H.I.E.L.D. Tarmac. Ron and his group walked down Quinjet, and suddenly he called Rumlow. After the matter is over, I want to meet Mr. Pierce and tell him for help. See Pierce? Since he met Nick Fury, why did he take the initiative to ask Pierce? Does he know what? Rumlow was startled and his eyes were fixed on Ron's back. But Ron's footsteps did not stop at all, and he walked into the Sanqui building with Tony. Rumlow narrowed his eyes slightly, and then, he didn't figure out anything. Fake. I am a combatant, why don't a trademark I go to Pierce? I was thinking about it for a long time, so I might as well tell Pierce the original words of Luoan directly. Thinking of this, he hurried towards Pierce's office. Killian failed indeed, I must act faster. The Red Devil died and the entity was lost, and another amazing Ron Stark came out. Why don't these damn mutants die? Stryker looked at the message he had just received and whispered in a deep voice. Killian fails, and Rodriguez will have an accident sooner or later. While he can still use him now, he must act faster. As for the cooperation with Rodriguez? Stryker's mouth curled, and a cold smile appeared. Definitely it was cancelled unilaterally. President Ellis wants to assassinate, but Ellis must not die. On the contrary, let Rodriguez play his last remaining energy. When he succeeds, all mutant will die, no, all the super ability will die. He took out the contactor, get on action now. S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury's office. Tony, Ron. Nodded to the two, Nick Fury's face was dull and he was still maintaining the director's coldness. I've watched your battles, it's very good. Thorn. Ron pulled a chair casually and sat down, a harsh sound interrupting Nick Fury's words. Looking at Nick Fury who was frowning, Ron raised his eyebrows. Well, it's true that it's the same as in the movie. I feel like I'm not a good person. Looking at Phil Coulson next to him, it was obviously much more normal and he smiled amiable. Definitely, Ron wouldn't treat him as a good person. Being trained by Nick Fury as a confidant is even recognized as the next S.H.I.E.L.D. director. If such a person is really a kind person, Nick Fury will definitely be blinded. Ron supported his hands on the table and opened the right way, don't talk about uselessness, Tony was attacked, I want information about this. After saying that, Ron looked into Nick Fury's eyes and said word by word, what I said is, all the information. Nick Fury's face remained unchanged, Ron, things are not as simple as you think. There are a lot of involvement here, the water is very deep, you. Bang, trademark Ron slapped the table, trademark I'm just playing with water, and no matter how deep I am, I can't trademark drown me Nick Fury glanced at Tony, but Tony remained silent. Since I came in, I never said a word. What does this mean? Forced to be a ward? Ron doesn't trademark know the importance, and you don't trademark know either? How big is the matter behind this, can trademark you think of it? Seeing that Tony was unmoved by his eyes, Nick Fury sighed inwardly. Ron, what's going on here is likely to affect the entire Stark group, you. Don't talk nonsense to me. Ron gave him no face. If Tony dies, it won't trademark affects Stark, Nick Fury gave Phil Coulson a look, and Phil Coulson hurried forward and poured coffee for all three of them. Ron Stark, many things are not as simple as you get out. Ron glanced at him lightly, then looked at Nick Fury. I said it last time, I don't care about things, I don't mess with you, but I'm not afraid of things, whoever provokes me will die. Hurry up and give me the information, don't talk to me, or I'll demolish your Sanqui building. After I dismantle it, if you can still face me calmly and not cause trouble for me, I will listen to you, how about it? Nick Fury had to say something, suddenly the office door was opened and Pierce walked in. Sorry, I heard from the agent below that Mr. Ron Stark entered Fury's office in a fierce manner. If you have any requests, you can tell me and Fury, we will try our best to satisfy it. Looking at the tense scene in the office, Pierce put down the stone hanging in her heart. Not targeting Hydra, it seems that Ron is not in line with Nick Fury, which happens to be his chance. Their inside plan is about to be implemented, and there must not be any accidents at this time. Pierce walked over with a smile, nodded at Nick Fury, reassured him, and then came to Ron. Ron raised his eyebrows and looked at him. Why did this old guy come here? My eyes narrowed slightly, I was worried about him, afraid that he would affect Hydra. Ron retracted his gaze indifferently, my request is very simple. Whoever helps Killian will die. What I said is, no one is left behind in all the people involved. Pierce nodded, the request is reasonable, no problem, we agree. Nick Fury was stunned and looked at Pierce incredulously. Pierce, you. Pierce shook his head at him and continued, Mr. Ron Stark, according to our investigation, it was Vice President Rodriguez who helped Killian. After saying that, he stared at Pierce of Ron, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. He found that Ron's expression didn't fluctuate at all, as if he didn't know how big the name he said was. Is this possible? This is absolutely impossible. Otherwise, Ron would have known it long ago, it wouldn't be possible. Or, Ron didn't take it seriously at all, no matter who it was, he would have to die. Pierce tends to the latter, after all, Ron threatens with S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. Can a Rodriguez have headquarters important? Just kidding. After receiving the gods with a smile, Pierce continued, just now, we received a message. The president was assassinated by mutant, and Rodriguez was unfortunately killed in order to protect the president. Mr. Ron Stark, the mastermind behind it is dead, and your revenge is avenged. Is this matter over? Nick Fury stared at Pierce with wide eyes. Is this true? When did it happen? Pierce nodded, it happened 10 minutes ago, and the news just came. And, over the White House, let us S.H.I.E.L.D. participate, arrest mutant, and speak to support mutant. Mutant assassinated the president, and then the vice president died? The mastermind behind it is gone? The development of this matter was beyond Ron's expectations. He originally thought that he would take this opportunity to establish his authority for Stark so that everyone would know that he would not dare to trouble Stark. As a result, the mastermind behind the scenes died? This matter ended in such a slight manner? Empty. Who did it? Ron really wanted to find the people who did this and then kill them all. Wait a euro. Mutant assassination and then the Mutant Act was implemented. Why does this matter sound so familiar? Akach mutant. On the other side of the worker's desk, Nick Fury's tone was directly raised by 2 tones. In front of Pierce, Nick Fury didn't hold on anymore. After all, the old boss didn't know how to get it. Let us agents arrest mutant? They're not broken, right? Even if Magneto is locked up now, Charles, Storm and others are still there. How do we catch mutant of that level? Use a small pistol Biubiu. In front of Charles, no one has any secrets and can't even sneak attacks. Don't look at Charles as a good man, but that also has a prerequisite. Don't touch the mutant child in his academy. As long as he dares to move, it means he will fight back. Even Hulk may be controlled by Charles. Why is it possible, or is it that Nick Fury is uncertain, and in anger, Hulk can resist accurately? However, even if you resist Charles's mental power, you may be extremely angry and do not distinguish between enemies and us. 0. Pierce spread her hands at Nick Fury. Now you are the director, not me, what's the use of asking me? These things definitely make you worry about euro 01460210 fila 122543341. Looking at Pierce's teasing look, Nick Fury didn't even get angry. It's so annoying. Just finished dealing with Ron, and still dealing with mutant. The most important thing is that he has a pretty good relationship with Charles and mutant. This matter must not be answered, but it must not be answered, after all, it is related to the vice president and the president. It's better to talk about Charles before, after all, mutant is also the target he is fighting for. Besides, Ron is suspected to be mutant, so why did he clean up Ron together? Nick Fury's eyes flashed and he made a secret decision. Ron, Tony, Rodriguez is dead, then that's the end of this. Next, Tony, I need your help and hope you can accompany me to Mutant Academy. By the way, bring your bodyguard, Happy, and I need to be extremely strong as well. Ron. Tony looked at Ron. As the Avenger, he had to face extraordinary events, which was inevitable. Ron smiled and nodded, you can do whatever you want, Isn't there Mr. Pierce? I will follow Mr. Pierce for a while and have a walk around SHIELD. Ron looked at Pierce, and Pierce smiled and nodded. Yes, just let Mr. Stark follow me. You guys go and solve mutants' affairs first. Nick Fury and Tony looked at each other and nodded, it's good. Looking at the 2 people leaving hurriedly, Ron and Pierce looked at each other. Pierce's heart jumped violently when she smiled strangely at Pierce. He was sure, Ron really knew his identity. Stand up, and Ron walked out of the office. A euro L at a euro trademark esco, lead a euro trademark S talk in a different place. Pierce's office. In front of the floor-to-ceiling window, the 2 of them stood quietly, looking at the tall buildings outside. Not to mention, at this angle, the scenery is really good, and the old guy is really good at choosing. Ron sighed in his heart as he looked at the scenery outside. Pierce glanced at Ron with a calm expression, and a trace of fear flashed in her eyes. A powerful extraordinary man who knew the existence of Hydra, he has lived for so many years and has never experienced such a harsh moment. Facing Ron, TMD, I can't kill but I can't beat, it may also be exposed at any time. He was so restricted that he didn't even know how to speak. I don't know what to say. Pierce takes a deep breath. Ron Stark, I wonder what you think of the world. I'll stand and watch. Ron looked down at the prosperity of Hwasong Shield, looking indifferent. Pierce asked tentatively, if the whole world is unified, will the world be better? Ron chuckled, turned around and took a few steps to Pierce's desk and sat down. Then he pointed to the position opposite the table. Don't be so reserved, sit down first and then chat. Pierce, it seems to be his office? A strange look on his face flashed away, and he honestly achieved the position where the customer should do. Ron Stark, stop. Ron interrupted Pierce, holding her hands on the table, and her body was smooth. Your Excellency Pierce, do you know that there is a grudge between us? There is a great hatred, a hatred that is almost impossible to mediate. Pierce was a little puzzled. Where did the hatred come from? Why didn't a Euro trademark he know? You know, Ron has been dementia before, and it was the first time they met. He didn't remember where he or his subordinates were guilty of Ron. Ron saw the doubt in his eyes and said softly word by word. I'll remind you, how did the Howards die? Is it really a car accident? Who is the culprit? All involved? Hand over it. Definitely, you can refuse, then I will uproot all of you Hydra. No one left. 68. The Howards are his adoptive parents. He had never met before, and even heard of many things about each other, but he actually had no feelings for him. But he was also grateful from the bottom of his heart that they saved his life, and Tony raised him with dementia. With such kindness, let alone Hydra, even if he is enemies of the whole world, he will be determined to be the supervillain. Pierce's face changed, and Ron almost made everything clear. But he just hesitated for a moment and made a decision. Aaron Stark, this matter okay, I don't need to say it if I don't want to say it. I know what to do. In an instant, Ron's face was full of coldness and reached out to grab Pierce's neck. Crack, trademark. Pierce suddenly collapsed and her head tilted to the side. With the thought moving, Pierce disappeared. Please, just say it if you don't want to say it. I can't just check it myself. After Pierce called him only Ron Stark, he knew that S was not going to say it. I really don't trademark know why an ordinary person is so hard when facing him alone. Unfortunately, my whole body is stubborn. If he has space, he can directly absorb the corpse and he can know everything. After absorbing Pierce's memory, Ron simply checked it out. After leaving the space, a wood duplication that can exist for a long time was split out at the first time, and then it became Pierce. Duplication has all the memories of Pierce, and now, even Rumlow can't tell it. Ron shook his head at Pierce trademark, what a pity, Howard trademark S death has nothing to do with him originally, I thought I could cooperate with 007, but now it's fine Pierce trademark rolled her eyes helplessly, original, you are still behaved when you get a bargain now, S.H.I.E.L.ds Hydra is all ours. Do you still need to cooperate? Grass. Ron looked disgusted, can you stop using Pierce's face and make such expressions, whether it is disgusting or not? After teasing, Ron's face turned upright and his expression was serious, okay, I'll say it's serious. Use the power of Hydra to investigate Howard's death, who instructed Winter Soldier, and a series of participants, investigate it, and leave the list to me. One other thing, integrating Hydra, I don't need to say more about this, you should know how to do it Pierce trademark nodded, understand, don't trademark worry he has not only Pierce's memory, but also Ron's memory. There is even a part of Ron's ability, which includes making serum potions. With Pierce's identity and serum potion, he integrates Hydra. If he still doesn't understand it, he should really find a pit to bury himself. Pierce trademark watched Ron leave and pick up the phone. Sitville, call Rumlow and come to my office. After a while, the two arrived one after another. Entering the office, Rumlow was wearing a combat uniform, as if he was ready to fight at all times. Sweeping around the office seriously, Pierce, what's the case? You know, he is ready to tear off with Ron, a man who knows Hydra. This person is also one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D, and Howard's adopted son. It can be imagined that he has absolutely no good impression of Hydra. Sitterville was much calmer than him, and when he saw the calm smile on his face, he knew that things were not going toward the bad. Otherwise, Pierce trademark would not have a confident look in control. Pierce trademark smiled and pointed at the seat, and trademark worry, eat trademark s going well, sit down first and say upon hearing this, Rumlow's tight muscles relaxed and sat down with Sitville. Pierce trademark took a sip of coffee and put away her smile. Old Hawk it went smoothly, Ron Stark also agreed to work with us, but he had a condition. Sitterville and Rumlow looked at each other without saying a word. They are not stupid. In this case, if the boss asks them to come, it is definitely not for their opinion. It is obvious that there are tasks, and the tasks are related to Ron's conditions. So, they sat there quietly and listened to Pierce continue. He didn't know where he learned the real cause of the Howard's death, so he asked us to investigate the real murderer and solve the person who planned it all. When doing this, he will guarantee to work with us sincerely. In Hydra, no, in the S.H.I.E.L.D, the cause of the Howard's death is no secret. So, Sitville was not surprised, and raised his hand and pushed his glasses. Pierce, are you sure what he said is true? Pierce trademark nodded affirmatively. Trademark okay When Sitterville heard the answer from Pierce trademark, she was still worried. What if he gets the answer and works with Nick Fury backhand? What should we do? Pierce trademark sighed. Isitville, we have no choice What does it mean? Sitterville was stunned. Pierce trademark. He didn't trademark T know where he learned about the Insight plan trademark. If we don't trademark T agree, the Insight plan trademark that is about to come to an end will completely fail what? Setville's face changed drastically. Rumlow, who was standing up right away. The Insight program is set by Hydra for dominating the world. If they really want to be exposed, they will go from S.H.I.E.L.D.S agent to everyone's shouting and beating. The most important thing is that their great plan will be completely ruined. Sitterville opened his mouth and was about to say something, but suddenly he caught a glimpse of the calm expression of Pierce trademark and was stunned. Yes. Pierce trademark has known it a long time ago, and she is still so calm, so there must be a solution. Immediately, his expression gradually calmed down, and he pulled Rumlow and signaled him to sit down. Then look at Pierce trademark. You already have a way? What do we need to do? Pierce trademark smiled and said, you don't trademark T need to do anything since the Insight plan trademark has been leaked, it will be cancelled. What? Sitterville was stunned again. Everyone was numb. What happened to Pierce trademark? Isn't trademark T it just that when I met Ron, why did he give him so much shock? What exactly is Ron that allows Pierce trademark to give up on the Insight plan? You know, that's the hard work they have prepared for a long time. Pierce trademark gave Sitville and the others a look and signaled that they should not be impatient. Because, I got something better from Ron. What? Rumlow asked subconsciously. Pierce trademark opened her mouth and spit out a word that made both of them feel shocked. Super serum. What? This time, even Sitville couldn't calm down and stood up suddenly. Lizardman John Wick, Brown Bearman Happy, you all saw it. The two people with shocked faces nodded with their eyes widened. Pierce trademark was very satisfied with the reaction of the two. Pierce add to Connor's before, this proves that this transformation can be replicated. So, my cooperation with him is mainly serum. Rumlow's face was full of excitement. This serum has no side effects. Pierce trademark smiled and nodded. No side effects. Trademark S not like Winter Soldier trademark S brain mess, nor does it enlarge your personality like Red Skull. Only strengthening the body allows you to obtain the ability corresponding to the serum, and it may also have a transformation effect. Sentence Ron said that the strength of the body is also very effective for not transforming, but after transforming, your strength can be at least doubled, and you can be up to 5 times. The two of them suddenly realized that no wonder Pierce trademark would give up on the Insight plan. If super serum can really be supplied unlimitedly, then the Insight plan is nothing. Hydra all members of Super Warriors, and can also create Super Warriors continuously. In this way, even the Avengers, even the big green guy, the guy who waved the hammer appeared again. They can also rush forward and get rid of each other. In this way, Hydra will dominate the entire world with a stronger attitude. So, Insight plan? Sorry, I'm really not familiar with it, don't contact me, I'm afraid Super Serum will misunderstand. But while being excited, Sitterville still maintained her rationality. After all, compared to Rumlow, his role is a think tank. This is also the reason why in the original drama, Rumlow will never surrender even if he dies, but when he is scared, he will say everything. If you are not a combatant, your will is relatively not firm enough. After all, I'm too smart and think a lot. Pierce, are you sure he didn't lie to you? Pierce trademark smiled slightly, without saying anything, but lowered her head and opened the drawer. The two of them moved with his movements, and then they saw that he took out a transparent glass reagent, which contained a tube of flowing reagent. An incredible thought emerged in the minds of the two of them. Is this? Pierce trademark nodded affirmatively. Eyes, this is Super Serum, the lower version. Super Serum, low-level version. The two of them looked confused. Pierce trademark explained. F low-level version just doesn't trademark T have the effect of transformation, but it can still strengthen the body. According to Ron, there is also a certain accelerated injury self-healing ability. I don't know what the specific one is, but we can try it. Sitterville immediately stood up. I'll go and call Ward to bring people here. It is impossible to test the drug yourself. There are too many people in Hydra, and are there still no need to use Super Serum? Besides, this is not a disaster for him, this is an opportunity. A huge opportunity. They are all at the bottom of the house. If they don't trademark T give him this opportunity, they may not get it in their lifetime. He has to thank us. After Ron solved Pierce's incident, he remembered that Mutant assassinated the president. Then the Mutant Act was implemented and everyone started targeting Mutant. Isn't trademark T this the plot in X-Men? So in order to implement the plan, Stryker's original result was that the assassination of the president failed and changed to killing the vice president. In this way, the support he received will be greater as he recalls. However, he didn't go directly to Xavier Talent School. Ron is not ready to face Charles now. The old guy who always perceptives others' thoughts, if he checks his memory, the whole world will be in chaos. That's really the boss who can erase everyone in an instant. Ron does have a kaleidoscope and his mental power is also very large. But it can't be done for a moment. Hypnotic ability is everyone in New York. At most, within a certain range, such as a block, use mental power to create illusions. If it exceeds this range, it will not affect it. So, I have to become stronger, go to the ninja world and get Uchihamadara's body. With Uchihamadara he can synthesis the reincarnation eye for corpses. By then, there will be no kaleidoscope, but there will be no corresponding ability. And with the reincarnation eye, he can go further at the shadow level. The reincarnation eye can do it, which will cause the whole world to fall into the illusion of moon reading, which shows how powerful the mental power is. Even if he is not as good as Charles, he is no longer a weak scum who can be viewed at will. And when his strength reaches more than 2000, then, the Susatura Buddha. Almost, it can sweep away everyone except Ancient One. At that time, it is not that he is cautious when he sees others, but that others need to be careful when they see him. A teleport, Ron appears in New York. The moment he saw Ron, Gwen's eyes turned red. Is everything over? You're not injured, are you? She also wanted to go with her, but Ron refused again. I had been worried for a long time, but if Ron hadn't called her later, she would have been unable to sit still. Ron smiled and flipped his waist. How could he get hurt? The person who can hurt me has not been born yet. Seeing this, Gwen burst into laughter, then frowned and said unhappy. Be serious, I'll talk to you again. Otherworld are powerful extraordinary people everywhere in this world, and ability is also very strange. If you encounter it, you don't know the other party's ability, be careful and not careless. Ron pulled her into his arms. I'm very serious. Don't believe it? Come to my arms if you don't believe it. Just look at it, touch it with your hands and see if there is anything missing. Ron grabbed his hand and pressed it on his body. Gwen's pretty face turned red and he didn't take his hand back. What is this? Why do you still carry a gun with you? What gun? That's it, Under the night sky, a burst of birds were startled. The bird looked down and wanted to find the annoying guy, but found that there was no one. What they don't know is that, thousands of kilometers away, inside the villa in Malibu. In Ron's bedroom, a shy second half sounded, 3,262 words are omitted here. 69. In the early morning, Ron was having breakfast, thinking about what happened last night. I couldn't help but sigh in my heart, it would be good to move instantly. It didn't delay the work at all. With the teleportation, I returned to Malibu from New York. Definitely, the second half cannot be described, otherwise something will happen easily. It was just after the end, when Ron cleaned the villa, it was a bit too much. There were cobwebs stuck to the ceiling everywhere, and some cobwebs stuck to the table, hanging the table in the air. No one knows what happened, maybe only 2 people know. As for Gwen, he was sent home by Ron last night. Gwen said he had to go home at night, otherwise he would find out when her mother came to call her tomorrow morning. Ron definitely respects her ideas, or the same sentence, teleportation is convenient. After giving Ron a kiss, he skillfully followed the exterior wall of his house and entered her bedroom. Finally, Ron stared at him for a while before he reluctantly pulled the curtains. Ron did not rush back, but walked around for a while to teleport directly in the future. He left after he was almost familiar with it. In the ninja world, Shizun looked at Tsunade with a misty look, and was still drinking. I couldn't help but look down at my wrist, and my heart was filled with grief. I said I had been away for a while. How long has it been? Why haven't a Euro trademark T come back yet? She didn't notice that the moment she lowered her head, Tsunade's gaze also moved to her wrist. There was something similar to a metal watch. Tsunade didn't know what was wrong with him, she looked so mean. He was so scared that he wanted to stay away from him, but his mind was hot and he rushed to the door. Now, as soon as Ron disappeared, it was 07 for many days. Not only did she not feel free, she was empty every day. Especially yesterday, I wanted to go for a gamble, but I don't Euro trademark T know what happened, but my luck was so amazing that I won anything I played. In 2 hours, my gambling money increased tenfold. She had an uneasy irritation for no reason and returned to her residence with silent voice. I thought of Ron in my mind, and unconsciously, the scene of the day in the cemetery emerged. And the 2 corpses Ron was holding. Master Tsunade, today there are 2 more members of the Enbu, asking me about Lord Ron's news. Himmer Tsunade burped, that's not from the dark, it's from the root. Jing Ian said in a daze, Ren? Isn't Ron the subordinate of Lord Danzang? What is he looking for Lord Ron? Tsunade did not speak, but took a sip of wine and asked back. Mining, you said, if I die, how long will my body rot without a trace? Shizun was nervous and looked at Tsunade with some anxiety. Sir Tsunade, you won't die. Tsunade seemed to have not heard her at all, and suddenly shook her head. No, I have my head left. You said your body is rotten, will your head still be there? With your head still there, will there be no meat left on your body? It seemed like the drunk Tsunade, muttering to himself constantly and mocking. I was confused when I heard Shizun, but she was still young and couldn't hear the sadness in Tsunade's words. It was a kind of sadness and disappointment that was clear about the truth but dared not admit it. Jing Ian replied honestly, it shouldn't be true. Even if it rots, it will leave some skin. And how could it be without a trace? The whole body should be synchronized. It's not someone who uses a knife to pick it on it. Tsunade was shocked, and then she felt as if she had lost her strength and collapsed on the table. He kept muttering, yes, you're right, how could my grandfather and second grandfather's bodies rot? We are the Thousand Hands clan. Even if we die for decades, our bodies will be full of vitality and will not rot at all. The intact heads are proof, so their flesh has been picked. Ha 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 ha, I've been picked. In Konoha. In Konoha's cemetery. In Konoha they created the Guardian. Under the noses of Naruto and his disciples, they were picking up the flesh by their own people. The more Tsunade said, the louder she heard, until the end, she even cried and said it. As he cried, Tsunade lay on the table and fell asleep. And Jing-Ian, who was standing beside him, was stunned. What did she hear? Grandpa and second grandpa? The flesh was picked? Isn't Euro trademark T that the first generation of Naruto and the second generation of Naruto? Their flesh was removed? They have been dead for a long time. The first Naruto died shortly after he came back after killing Uchiha Madara. The second generation of Naruto was covering the Scene Guard, which is now the third generation, and Naruto assisted several people to retreat. He was not aware of it for a while and was killed by a sneak attack. However, in the end, Konoha also negotiated with Union Village and replaced the body of the second generation Naruto. He was buried in the cemetery with the first generation. This is the information that all Konoha people know. People even go to pay tribute to them. But now, thinking about Tsunade's cry just now, Shizune fought a cold war for no reason. Is this true? That's Konoha. In her heart, it has always been the best place in the entire ninja world. She looked at Tsunade, and a feeling of sadness surged in her heart. He walked over and gently helped Tsunade up and placed it on the bed. Sir Tsunade, you must be very confused, right? It would be great if Ron was here. For some reason, Ron and Tsunade's relationship is not so harmonious. It is a kind of relationship that is higher and lower, even Ron takes the lead and does not have to be responsible for it. But Shizune had a feeling that Ron's weight in Tsunade's heart now exceeded Konoha. If Ron was there, he would definitely help Lord Tsunade get justice, right? She looked out the window and was in a daze, noticing that the watch on her wrist flashed suddenly. Tsunade's wood leaves, roots are underground base. Are you sure that Tsunade said that? Shimura-dan hid in the darkness, staring at his subordinates who were kneeling on one knee in front of him with one eye. The masked root member lowered his head and said respectfully, that's right we did not leave immediately after asking about Ron Stark trademark S traces outside. I heard Lord Tsunade's conversation with Shizune after getting drunk. Shimura-dan's eyes were deep. I understand. You go down and call Orochimaru and say I have something to do with him. Yes. The root member lowered his head and responded respectfully, then flashed and disappeared from the spot. In less than 10 minutes, a thin figure walked into the root base. It was Orochimaru, who looked at the surrounding environment with disgust. Although he contracted the big python in Longdi Cave, the Longdi Cave is also underground, giving people a darker feeling. But that's just a feeling, at least those pythons have a good taste. The Dragon Cave is arranged so that it is pleasing to the eye. Look at the base of Danzang again, it is extremely dark, and after a long time, it can cause people to suffer from mental illness. If there is no problem in my heart, who is a normal person who stays here for a long time? Really, no matter how many times you come here, it makes me uncomfortable. What are you asking me for? I still have experiments there. After talking about it, I will go back. Danzo Shimura was expressionless about Orochimaru's disgust. Tsunade got it. What do you know? I know we use the corpses of the first generation and the second generation to do research. Upon hearing this, Orochimaru spread his hands. What does that have to do with me? I am just an experimental worker, only responsible for doing experiments, and the materials are provided by you. Shimura Danzo narrowed his eyes slightly. Don't forget that the cells of the first and second generations are all in your laboratory. What's wrong? Orochimaru didn't care, and licked his forked tongue at his mouth. After being discovered, I could escape from the village at most. Anyway, the reason I stayed is because you can provide me with materials and it is more convenient to do experiments. But what about you? Can you escape? Lord Shimura Danzo, who has always wanted to be Naruto. Anyone may rebel against the village, but Shimura Danzo will definitely not. He was determined to be Naruto, which had become his obsession. He can do whatever he wants to become a Hokage, but he will never rebel against the village and will be self-destructive from Konoha. Even if you accept punishment, you must stay in the village. After leaving the village, Naruto's belongs to anyone, it will definitely not be his. A001460210 fellow 122553091. Shimura Danzo had anger hidden in his eyes and did not dare to vent his anger at Orochimaru. Don't you want to continue the experiment? Even if you can leave Konoha, those experimental equipment and experimental materials, do you have to spend your time looking for it? What do you mean? These two words from Shimura Danzo made Orochimaru look slightly correct. Indeed, if he went to find it himself, he would have wasted too much time. How many experiments can he do when he has had that time? So, Shimura Danzo is still useful. Shimura Danzo walked down from his leader's seat and came to Orochimaru step by step. You said, what other experimental materials are better than that Ron Stark? Orochimaru laughed disdainfully. Can you beat him? Or can you beat him at the root of your subordinates? Just that armor can level your roots, he can also use wood escape. This is equivalent to 2 957 level movie level champions, not ordinary movie level friends. Don't you want to use him for experiments? Shimura Denzo asked without refuting. Orochimaru laughed, what's the point? Do you still want to be a Hokage? Have you become a? If I hadn't been interested in Naruto now, the next Naruto would not be your turn. Oh no, it's not your turn now. It's said that the old man wants Hatsuki Mizuno to be the 4th generation of Hokage. Whether it is him or Mizuno, they are all civilian ninjas and have no backstage. Orochimaru saw this clearly, and the death of his disciple Rashiki made him obsessed with immortality. He gave up the idea of a euro the Naruto position. What's the use of being a man? He is not an old man's puppet yet. Besides, Naruto cannot let him live forever and is not interested. Shimura Denzo didn't think so, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Humph, I can only be me in the 4th generation. I have made countless contributions to the village. Bofeng Mizuno? I am just a young little guy. Yo Orochimaru shook his head with a teasing expression. That boy from Minato made a name for Yellow Flash, and fought against a combination, and also blew up the Shinjubi bridge to prevent Iway from invading. Thus, he has completed several tasks comparable to S level. Such credit can be fully qualified for the 4th generation. All the villagers in the village are cheering for him. As for you, Lord Shimura Denzo, who knows who you are? TMD. I can even kill Shimeki Sakuro, a Hashiki Mizuno, and I want to compete with me for the position of the 4th generation of the metaphor? The 4th generation of the group can only be my Shimura Danzang. Whoever robs him will die. Shimura Denzo murmured with a dark face, should I take this opportunity to kill Hatsuki Mizuno? The more I saw that Shimura Dan was hiding, her face became darker. I didn't Euro trademark T know what was disgusting. Orochimaru waved his hand boredly. Okay, let's talk about the serious business. You asked me to come for Ron Stark. Tell me, what plans do you have? If it's right, I don't mind working with you. Shimura Denzo raised his head, and his face returned to expressionless again. It seemed that all the unhappiness just now was fake. Orochimaru was shocked by his tongue. It was worthy of being an old silver coin. It was just changing his face, and he couldn't learn it. Shimura Denzo said in a deep voice, track them with barriers, and then use poison. 70. Use poison? Where did you get poison? Orochimaru sneered. Just the little poison you have made of? Tsunade doesn't need to take action, and the silent sound around her can be solved. Tsunade didn't look at her before, and she didn't treat her much for a long time, but her medical skills were not lost. Now even if you don't Euro trademark T use medical ninjutsu such as palm art, you can treat Pipa Ia Euro trademark S diseases and injuries with just some medicinal materials. Just a bunch of waste under Danzang's men, the poison produced is not as strong as his poisonous snake. With that little ability, it is also suitable for poison? To put it bluntly, the one with the weakest venom among his venomous snakes is stronger than theirs. Denzo turned a blind eye to Orochimaru's contempt. Instead, he said in a low voice, what if it was the poison that Cho gave? Who? Cho? Give you poison? Orochimaru was stunned and looked at him with a weird look. No, is that rumor true? Do you really have an affair with Cho? Denzo's mouth twitched, his face dark and deep, his expression almost lost control, and he was waiting for Orochimaru angrily. I will contact you when I start, and then I will find a way to let Jotala Jiraki go with me. I'll finish it now. Now you can get out. Nine-tailed Tsubaki Riki. Orochimaru sticks out his tongue and has a strange smile on his face. Seeing that he wasn't leaving yet, Shimura Denzo had a dark face and snorted coldly, that guy Hizawa is too naive. A guy like Nine-Tails should be in control. At that time, I will turn the nine-tailed man Juriki into a weapon and be controlled by Konoha. Under Konoha, or under your control. Moreover, it is a seal barrier, a poison, or a Tsunade that seems to be difficult. Are you dealing with Ron Stark or are you dealing with Tsunade? Orochimaru felt cold in his heart, afraid he wasn't excited by Ron Stark's would escape? Is the expression on Orochimaru's face arranged? He still knows what kind of person Shimura Denzo is, he says it nicely and does every good thing he does behind his back. Even though the two of them have a cooperative relationship, he has always looked down on him. If it weren't for Shimura Denzo's existence, which did give him a lot of experimental convenience, he would have kicked the other party long ago. What's your expression? I'm all for Konoha. Noting that Orochimaru's expression was wrong, Dunzo Shimura shouted. Ah, yes. Orochimaru didn't bother to pay attention to him and turned around and left. Anyway, this old guy Denzo would definitely not dare to take action against Tsunade. At most, he would just catch him and lock him up. He can also study the changes in the direct descendants of the Thousand Hand bloodline. Looking at Orochimaru's back, the expression on Shukun Danzang's face could no longer be controlled. TMD. Who is it? He has a crush on Cho. Don't let him know, otherwise he will definitely grab the man closer to the roots and let him taste the torture at the roots. Suddenly, Shimura Danzang's face changed. No. Orochimaru, a guy who squats in the laboratory all day long, knows how to do experiments, and he turns a blind eye to things outside the window. Doesn't a Euro trademark T this mean that there are not many people who don't a Euro trademark T know about the entire Konoha? Empty. Seal. Must be sealed. Let the whole village monitor the routes. Whoever dares to talk about this behind the scenes will be strangers on the spot. Shimura Denzo almost got furious, it was a big deal about his reputation. After sending someone to the village to monitor, the anger in his heart was suppressed. Start arranging work for your subordinates. The main thing is to practice seal barrier ninjutsu, which is the key to trapping Ron Stark. If you are poisonous and cannot trap people, what is the difference between having weapons and not having hands? As for Ron Stark's location, it's not yet certain. But it doesn't matter. As long as you follow Tsunade, he will appear sooner or later. On the other side, Orochimaru left the base of the route and quickly left. But when I passed by a two-story building, my steps paused. The one living here is Kushina, the nine-tailed Tsukiri Uzumaki. It is said that they are in love with Nakamoto and will get married only when the war is over. In Orochimaru's opinion, he would not fight or snatch. If there was no accident in the Feng Shui sect, he would definitely be the fourth generation of Naruto. In other words, this generation of nine-tailed Tsukiriki, like the first generation of Tsukiriki, will be Mrs. Naruto. Shimura Danzo was actually trying to make her a decision, it was worthy of being the darkness of the ninja world. Orochimaru shook his head and stuck out his tongue and turned it around. What does it have to do with me? Jiraiya's disciple's girlfriend should worry about it. If Danzo can capture Juriki, I can't say that there will be more new research materials and new progress will be made in my research. Ron traveled to the ninja world and looked at Tsunade and the two of them. The distance was not far, but he did not go directly to find them. A woman will only affect his speed of improving his strength. Come to the battlefield of Shinryubi Bridge and kill two ninjas who attacked him at will. After throwing it into the space and absorbing it, I found that several days have passed since the battle of the Iwaki ninja. In this way, isn't Uchiha Obito already taken away by Uchiha Madara? I just don't know if Nohara Lin died or not. If she dies, she can try to kill Uchiha Wan Zhuang. No matter what, Shinwei is a relatively buggy ability, and it is more or less useful to me. Uchiha Obito is a kaleidoscope opened after the Kamimaki Bridge. At this time, as a teenager, he had insufficient combat experience and had only a pair of kaleidoscopes. Now is the best time to kill him. After waiting for a year or two, it would be difficult for him to kill him again after he became proficient in his ability. But there is no need to deliberately target Uchiha Madara is the big one, Uchiha Obito is the one who is a rabbit who is a rush to fight. If you have the chance, you will kill it, and if you don't Euro trademark T have the chance, you will be defeated. Anyway, after opening the reincarnation eye, the divine power is only optional. If you have divine power, when facing the enemy, the other party does not understand it, which can enhance yourself with a sense of mystery and power. But that's the case with divine power, you can only act violently in the ninja world. If you still arrogantly relies on your divine power and do whatever you want in the Marvel world, you will not be far from death. Not to mention anything else, Ancient One can be pinched to death with just one pinch. Not to mention that it is hidden only in the space mezzanine, it is not easy to hide in the time mezzanine. So, at most, it is bullying, Hulk, a guy with a simple mind and a slim limbs. After confirming the time and being roughly inconsistent with his calculations, Ron released the iron armor. Let the armor be at his roughly determined location and start searching for Uchiha Madara's underground base. The base location is probably north of Konoha, not far from Longjian Village and Union Village. After determining the position and then using the speed of the steel armor, it is much easier to detect. In just 2 days, Ron determined the specific location. Being underground, there are a few human-shaped heat sources that cause heat. It can be said that it is not difficult to find. Whenever you meet, go down and take a look. After seeing several, you will find it. What is this called? This trademark is called technology. With the dirt escape, Ron crawled into the ground. Not to mention, the earth escape ninjutsu, which is similar to the art of beheading in the heart, is sometimes quite practical. If he didn't know this kind of ninjutsu, now he would probably have to let the steel armor burst out. By the way, Mizuno also has a water escape ninjutsu that liquefies itself, which seems to be the Stu clan. If you take time to kill 2 people and absorb them, you can't be more favorable than the other. Ice and Union have existed, and so have Konoha. Sandu is planning to be the Yekang, but there is no Fogyin, which is a bit out of place. Who are you? A pool of black things stared at Ron with big eyes, bared their big teeth, and looked at Ron with vigilant eyes. Hold the grass. What? Who's going to do this? The dark pool was suddenly seen and scared Ron was so hungry that he didn't step on it. I thought it was a dad, but it was so disgusting to Ron. It was not until the other party spoke that Ron realized that it was the old silver coin of Heiju. Ron looked around and nodded slightly. Although this is an underground base, it can be arranged quite well. Uchiha Madara is worthy of being Uchiha Madara, and she is still very tasteful. After the beating around him, he looked at Heiju, where is Uchiha Madara? Heiju's eyes widened, why are you, who are you? Ron, he helped Uchiha Madara get the body. Retrieve the corpse? Help Uchiha Madara? No, I haven't heard of it. When did Uchiha Madara arrange it? Why didn't Euro trademark T know? Wait. No. Although Uchiha Madara is about to die, she is not dead yet, right? There is a heretic golem that supports him. If he doesn't want to die, Chi Chao can live for another 2 years. It was recently that Uchiha Obito finally accepted Uchiha, and Uchiha Madara had the intention to die first and wait for resurrection in the future. No one knows this except him. Who is the person in front of him? Don't forget to tell me, hurry up. Seeing Heiju's slap, Ron urged impatiently. Didn't you take Uchiha Obito recently and ask him to replace Uchiha Madara? You don't need Uchiha Madara's body, right? Get it for me quickly, I can pack it and take it away. Judging from Ron's tone of speaking, his definitely attitude, Heiju was also a little confused for a moment. What's going on? Uchiha Madara secretly contacted others while he was not paying attention? Doesn't a Euro trademark he believe me? Heiju grinned and tentatively said, you seem to be here too early, Lord Madara is still alive. I wonder when Lord Madara told you to collect the corpse. Ron, tell me. Who can command me? I just see an old man over 100 years old. No one knows that he died outside because of his miserable life. I couldn't bear to take the corpse even if I didn't take it away, so I came to collect it for him. I didn't mean you, definitely you are not a human being. After saying that, Ron waved impatiently. I'm in a hurry. If you ask him to die soon, you'll die immediately now. I'm in a hurry to collect the body. 71. Holding the grass. Looking for trouble. At this time, if Heiju can't react, he will be a fool. Can an old silver coin that has been planned for thousands of years be a fool? Obviously not. Uchiha Madara is involved in his plan to save his mother, how could something happen? Immediately, Heiju had a cold face, just pretending to be a cold face, anyway, this thing is shameless. In Ron's sight, Heiju's eyes narrowed slightly, and a faint touch of murderous intent appeared. However, this killing intention flashed and he immediately changed into a knocked gaze. Young, very young, but also in his 20s, he is older than Uchiha Obito. I think the strength is just that, so I should be able to control the soil of Shiha. After thinking in his heart, he made up his mind and said with a smile, I can't decide this matter. Lord Madara is next door, I can take you there. Ron nodded slightly, okay, lead the way, don't do anything. Even without steel armor, no one in this world can kill him. No one can touch it in a moment. Only he can beat people, but no one can beat him. The two of them turned around and came to another room. I saw a man with a haggard and old look on a bed, half lying and half leaning against. Her long pale hair was thorny and her eyes were slightly open. She looked like she was exhausted and she gave people an extremely domineering feeling. Uchiha Madara. The familiar appearance made Ron recognize the other person at a glance. Master Madara, he is here to find you. Heiju's eyes turned, and after introducing Ron to Uchiha Madara, he quickly disappeared from the spot. Uchiha Madara stared at Ron with domineering eyes, who are you? The target is right in front of him. RON 350 doesn't a Euro trademark T have time to talk nonsense to him, and all the amplifications are instantly activated. Thousand-handed monster power, thunder escape chakra mode, and 8-gate exit armor all activated. He went straight to the ground and a 4-book hand blasted the chest open Uchiha Madara's chest. At this time, Uchiha Madara was breathless when walking, let alone facing an attack close to the super shadow powerhouse. I was said to be unprepared, and even if I were prepared, I couldn't stop it. Kill Uchiha Madara, Ron casually unplugged the tube on his body. Just as he was about to put it into the space, Ron suddenly changed his mind and raised his hand to cut off one of Uchiha Madara's arms. The body was put into space, and the arm found a seal scroll and put it away. The corpse is of great use and cannot be left behind, but it is still fine to keep an arm and use it to reincarnate the filthy land in the future. Uchiha Madara got it, and Ron couldn't wait to enter the space. A Euro combat power plus 10, a Euro the thick mist found its exit and rushed towards his body. Ron was not interested in Uchiha Madara's memory. There was no secret, so he knew the general situation. He just looked at some combat skills and experience in using ninjutsu, and put it aside. Uchiha Madara, who was exhausted, did not bring him much combat power improvement. But Uchiha's bloodline and chakra from Otsutsuki were completely absorbed by Ron. His Sharingan was finally completely filled. Evolved from a kaleidoscope to an eternal kaleidoscope, and the ability integration of Uchiha Madara and Chiho activated the power of all things. That is, the power of Pseudo Otsutsuki. The eternal kaleidoscope directly evolved into the Eye of Reincarnation. Ron took out the mirror and took a look, well, it was this mosquito coil eye, the smell was right. With the blink of an eye, the reincarnation eye disappeared instantly. For him, the reincarnation eye is just a kind of ability and has nothing to do with blood. All ability, as long as it is absorbed, it is fully mastered. It just takes some time to be proficient, and after proficiency, it is almost like a doctor. And now, Ron is equivalent to having the Pseudo Otsutsuki bloodline. Definitely this doesn't matter, and Ron doesn't care. What's important is that he can finally drive Gundam. Uchiha Madara's ability fills the gap in his Sharingan's ability. First of all, Susanoo, because the Sharingan is almost dominated by Uchiha Madara. Therefore, the color of Susanoo is the same blue as that of Uchiha Madara. Moreover, Ron is now extremely powerful in his mental power, far stronger than his original ally. He can directly activate Susan. Ron estimated that even if he can't compare to Charles now, the gap has narrowed greatly. He stood in front of Charles, and the other party could not think of using his mind to perception his thoughts, let alone control him. In addition to Susan, there is also Uchiha Madara's kaleidoscope technique. The left eye is strengthening mental power, and the right eye is strengthening physical body. No one would have thought that the famous Shura of the ninja realm, the kaleidoscope eye technique, would be so simple and direct. However, these two ability can be said to be both unexpected and reasonable. Shinju Hashirama claimed to have inherited the immortal body, and his physical body was extremely strong. With the power of the 1,000 hands, it can be said that he is the best in the ninja world. And Uchiha Madara can fight him. From physical body to ninjutsu, and finally to Gundam, it can be said that it is not at all disadvantage. It can be imagined that in these aspects, Uchiha Madara is almost no less than that of Uchiha Hashirama. As Jojo knows, ninjas in the ninja world are famous for their attacks and low defenses. It is normal for Uchiha Madara to have strengthening the physical body's pupil technique. Now, it's all Ron's. From now on, his mental power and physical strength have been increasing all the time. Ron roughly calculated that with his combat power of more than 500, he could probably improve a little a day. In the future, as his strength improves, it will definitely be slower, about 100 points a year. But I don't a Euro trademark T do anything in a year, and I have hundreds of points of combat power. What other bicycles do I need? If others don't a Euro trademark T say anything, they want a Euro trademark T do anything, even if they train hard for 10 years, they want a Euro trademark T be as good as him for a year. There are also some other ability, such as Shenluo Tianzheng, Wangxiang Tianyan, Tiandao Zhenxing, Earth Burning Tianxing, etc., which are all standard configurations. Although they are all handsome, Susan is a boy's dream. It can be imagined that he was wearing adamantium and vibranium armor, with thousands of hands on his body, and then put on a Conway suit on his outside. This NM god blocks the killing god, and the Buddha blocks the killing Buddha. Ron took a deep breath. Can't float, can't float. A Euro Ethera are also Ancient One and Odin in the world, and whether it is Carol or Thanos, they are not necessarily opponents now. A Euro just look at how Thanos cut vibranium shield with 2 swords, I guess my Susan only had 2 more swords. In the final analysis, the most important thing is strength. Strength. What is more powerful is strength. If he had the power of the god of Otsutsuki, at least Thanos would be able to withstand dozens of more swords when he cut him down. After absorbing Uchiha Madara, Ron immediately left the space. I have achieved my main goals, so eat a Euro trademark S time to deal with Tsunade and Oha. By the way, he will be interested in Orochimaru. As soon as Ron came out of the space, suddenly, a kunao came towards him. He didn't blink his eyes, and raised his hand and bounced his finger on Quail. The chakra attached to it was instantly blasted apart, and the delicate kunao cracked into countless pieces, and the sneak attacker shot away. A Euro swish 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 swish, a Euro trademark. A burst of fragments tearing air sounds sounded. Ron heard no sound of pieces entering the flesh. He quickly disappeared from the spot and punched the attacker, but he still hit the empty shot. Looking closely, a boy with a twisted face halfway through his face, with a look of horror, exiting several meters away. Uchiha Obito. Looking at the windmill in Uchiha Obito's eyes and the grief in his eyes, Ron raised his eyebrows. Kaleidoscope? It seems that Nohara-rin is dead. Uchiha Obito is ready to blacken. Where is Uchiha Madara? Where did you get Uchiha Madara? Uchiha Obito asked sternly as he looked at the empty bed. Not long ago, he had just witnessed Nohara's death with his own eyes, but was killed by his best friend Kakashi. In grief and anger, he opened the kaleidoscope. He was still adapting to the kaleidoscope's ability, familiar with the sudden guaranteed strength. Suddenly, Heiju, who claimed to be Uchiha Madara's will, came to the door and said that an enemy had invaded. He didn't care about anything else, and directly used his pupil magic power and came through the wall. The eyes were the empty room, and the sudden appearance of Ron. He decisively launched the attack. However, if he hadn't reacted quickly, he would have been tied into a hornet's nest just now. A Euro 0146021007 fellow 122553371. If he hadn't relaxed and kept his divine power, he would have been instantly. Ron did not answer because he found that in addition to Uchiha Obito, there were a few more creatures around him. Use the art of ephemerals and Baiju hidden in the wall. Ignore the use of divine power and cannot attack Uchiha King. Ron flashed to the wall, surrounded by lightning, and 4 hands penetrated into the wall with a sharp aura. He grabbed a Baiju and brought it out of the wall. It's white, nothing good to look at. Holding it in his hand, and Ron squeezed his head and threw it into the space. By the way, I looked at the fog. Well, it can absorb, but not much. Ron probably will also provide a Kenfly technique, which is useless. Ron is too lazy to kill. However, it is good to put a few away and keep them as materials for reincarnation in the filthy land. This thing has a wood escape and has good physical strength. It can be used not only for reincarnation in the filthy land, but also for human experiments. The cost effectiveness is quite high. Ignoring Uchiha Obito, who was looking for an opportunity to attack him, Ron took out the seal scroll, sealing more than a dozen Baiju in one breath, and then he gave up. This thing can't a Euro trademark T be caught, as long as eat a Euro trademark S enough. At worst, you can just catch it when you need it. With the goal completed, Ron put his eyes on Uchiha's Bandit King. To be precise, it was on his spinning eyes. 72. Who are you? What did you do to catch Baiju? Uchiha Obito was seen by Ron and his back was cold, his eyes were full of vigilance, and he did not dare to remove his power at all. The guy in front of him is simply a pervert. That speed, that attack power, and that perception ability. Can trademark be something a ninja can do, what it can do? The shadows of the 5 major ninja villages are nothing more than that. If it weren't for the divine power, he wouldn't have dared to appear in front of Ron. No matter what Uchiha Madara. Ron chuckled. Uchiha Obito's face changed slightly, and he seemed a little embarrassed. No matter what, even if I don't a Euro trademark T become a son of humanity in the later stage, I have just stepped on Blacken now. He is still young and does not change so quickly. Uchiha Madara saved his life no matter how he said it, and he only asked one question. It's a bit ungrateful. If this is later, in order to create a world with only Lin, I, Uchiha, will ask you to die with the king. Teacher, you go and die first, and I will send my master's wife to accompany you later. Heiju then came out. Obito, why are you still stinging? Why don't you kill him quickly and avenge Lord Madara? He stepped on it and saw that Uchiha Madara was gone. It was gone. Then what should he do to save his mother? He also counts on Uchiha Madara, a stubborn guy, to help him walk the road. Now that he has lost his body, how could he resurrect Uchiha Madara? Uchiha Obito? A brainless thing. TMD, don't a Euro trademark T know that his magic power is limited? He actually chatted with the enemy. Time comes later, and I can't a Euro trademark T even run away. Uchiha Obito heard this and showed hesitation. He also wanted to take action, but he was not the opponent. After taking action, he was definitely not the one who killed Ron, he must have been instantly killed. Ron slowly walked to Uchiha Obito. I know your divine power has a time limit, and it can last at most 5 minutes. Now 2 minutes have passed. Ron's words made Uchiha's face change drastically. However, Ron continued, do you want to see Nohara-rin again? Ron has no idea about Shinwei now. Although the blurring of divine power is limited by time, it cannot be denied that ability is indeed very buggy. However, the big guys in the Marvel world are even more cruel. With Ron's current strength, those who can beat him cannot use his power, and those who can't beat him will be useless, and he is purely useless. And the most important thing is that Uchiha Obito is easy to control, and Nohara-rin can control him tightly. It just so happened that he was in the ninja world and had no one yet. Every time he left, he had to ask for what happened by himself, which was a bit troublesome. When Ron finished speaking, the two men's faces changed drastically again. The difference is that I was shocked just now, but now one was panic and the other was surprise and excitement. Heiju quickly spoke, Uchiha Obito. He is lying to you. Lin is dead, we agreed to create a world of Lin. At that time, in the Uedo space, you will be with Lin who loves you forever. Uchiha Obito's expression was uncertain for a moment. In terms of love, Heiju saved his life and would not lie to him. But looking at Ron's expression, he was confused again. Because he is far from Ron's opponent, there is no need for Ron to lie to him. Ron glanced at Heiju. Yakuo? Did you talk about Yakuo, to help Uchiha Obito realize what he thought, or to help you untie the seal on the moon let someone out? How do you know? Heiju blurted out in shock. However, he realized that he could not say this, at least he could not say it in front of Obito. But it was too late, and the first half of the sentence had already made Uchiha Obito hear it clearly. Uchiha Obito looked at Heiju angrily, are you lying to me? Ron was too lazy to see them pulling this, and interrupted, okay, he has lied to you a lot. If you want to know in the future, I will tell you slowly. Now answer my question, do you want to see Nohara-rin? Is Uchiha Obito a choice? No. Think. So, he nodded without hesitation, even lifted his power and stood directly in front of Ron. Ron nodded with satisfaction, okay, you go and bring back Nohara-rin's body. If it is difficult, just take a part of it. He can reincarnate in the filthy land, and Baiju is also used as materials, not to mention that he also has the reincarnation eye, and can use the innate art of reincarnation. Not to mention creating a filthy land, you can even be resurrected directly. Without saying a word, Uchiha Obito rushed out of the underground base and headed straight for Yedo. As long as he could see Lin again, he could do it even if he could destroy Konoha. As for Heiju, he doesn't know him. He's so damn. Who is he going to be with? Yes, disgusting, bah. TMD. Uchiha Obito. Traitor. The slave of the 3 surnames. You already have the way to die. Seeing Uchiha Obito leaving without hesitation, Heiju was full of unwillingness to accept it. After planning for many years, he went bankrupt like this, and Heiju felt endless anger in his heart. Who are you? How do you know the seal on the moon? Ron smiled and said, not only do I know about the seal, I also know that there is Otsutsuki Kagaya inside. Looking at the horror in Heiju's eyes, Ron's smile became stronger. The next second, a reincarnation eye appeared in his eyes. Do you want to save her? I can help you where? Back. Eyes. A bang. In S.H.I.E.L.D. In a training ground. Looking at Ward on the field, he punched the sandbag and raised it high. With the last blow, he actually penetrated the sandbag directly. Rumlow and others on the side showed envy. Originally they planned to use serum for an ordinary Hydra battlefield. But after learning about it, Grant Ward took the initiative to ask for the use of serum without saying a word. Seeing that he insisted repeatedly, a Europierce Euro trademark just briefly persuaded him and agreed. After all, it was made by him by himself. He doesn't a Euro trademark T know whether there are any side effects. But after more than 10 minutes of serum absorption, Ward was not only different, but also a complete transformation. It's okay if you don't use force. Once you use force, your muscles will be needed, like pythons, spreading all over your body. With a little force, I broke my clothes. Seeing Ward's normal expression, Rumlow and Citterville couldn't wait to pull him to test. Instantly explosive power, close to 10 tons. You know, the peak of ordinary people, the strongest, is only close to 1 ton. This is several times the body of an ordinary person. Then the test was restored. Ability, with one knife, the 10-centimeter hole was cut, and the blood was stopped in a few minutes without any treatment, and scarring began in a few minutes. Although there is no visible healing, this recovery speed is combined with field-based special medicines. I'm afraid that as long as it is not a fatal injury, even if it cannot be sent to the hospital for treatment in time, it can survive. After testing these two items, there are a series of physical examinations. The final result is definitely as a trademark said, with no side effects. Then Ward played freely and began to vent to the training equipment. The surge in power made him feel like he could hammer the elephant to death with one punch. This is an illusion that only occurs when one cannot fully control one's own strength. These scenes made Rumlow and others savor them. Pierce, do you have serum? Come and give me one. Pierce trademark spread her hands. A trademark escon €0. Rumlow was impatient. If you don't have it, go and ask Ron for it. Pierce trademark looked at him speechlessly. We are in a partnership, not a subordinate relationship. I want it too, but Ron has provided one for free. He asked, but we haven't done any of them yet. Why do we want it? Then take him, Rumlow said halfway and suddenly stopped. Mom messed with Farkey. Forgot, they can't beat Ron. If they really intend to kidnap Ron, the entire S.H.I.E.L.D. would probably be flooded. The tsunami that was dozens of meters high, and now I feel shocked when I think about it. That is really something that people can do? Is it really a human being able to do such things? In Mutant, only Charles Magneto is better than him. So, after his summary, Ron is at most suspected to be a human. Not only can you not beat it, but you still have no way to restrain yourself. Facing such a guy, you will be looking for death. Did you figure it out? Let's talk after you start to use your brain. Pierce trademark glanced coldly at him. TMT. He actually thought about moving heavily to the body. I think you have a way to kill him. Seeing the awkward atmosphere, Setville interjected, Rumlow is also for our own good. Zero Sir Pierce, how can we get as much serum potion as possible from Ron Stark? Or, do you think, can we crack the serum and make it ourselves? This idea is okay. Pierce nodded and glanced at Rumlow, learn from Setville. Try to control things like serum in our own hands. Setville, leave this to you, check Ward first. See if you can study serum based on his blood. If there is no way, I will try to get one from Ron Stark for your research. Sitterville looked overjoyed. Yes, sir. Looking at the excited expressions of the few people made ERS sneer. Just kidding, I will not restrict the serum I made myself. Still want to copy it? Even if you resurrect Erkins, you can't copy it. Okay, let this go first. Pierce spoke again. I just received a request for help from Nick Fury. Ward led the team to Xavier Genius Academy to support him in Iron Man. Yes. Sir. Ward saluted and left. Sitterville wanted to speak but stopped. Pierce trademark saw this. Say whatever you have. Sitterville, is it not appropriate for Ward to be exposed to Nick Fury? Pierce trademark patted him on the shoulder. Will Nick Fury have any ideas when he sees Ward? Sitterville nodded. Eyes. Pierce trademark. Ethan, do you think of him? Will you try your best to get the serum? Sitterville pushed his glasses. Sir, I understand. We still borrow chickens to lay eggs, use the serum he obtained, strengthening our people. Just understand, go down. Pierce patted his shoulder again, looking relieved. However, after everyone left, Pierce trademark curled her lips. I still want serum? I want a trademark T catch you all, but you still want to get serum. Trademark the original body should be going to the ninja realm, and I don't trademark T know when I will come back. Trademark according to the news from Nick Fury and Tony, it should be Striker trademark S trick on that side. Trademark mutant who wants Charles to kill the world in one go. Trademark but with Nick Fury, the possibility of his success is not high. Trademark but Striker seems to be developing Sentinel. You have to see if you can get it. Evening. 73. Boom, bang 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 bang. The dark night sky was torn apart by the flames, and two figures kept firing at each other with missiles. One of them was silver all over, and it was a machine armor, and the moment was flashing with a cold light. The other one is golden red, which is Iron Man Tony wearing steel armor. Inside the helmet, the data stream is constantly jumping on the entire screen. J.A.R.V.I.SS voice was calm and clear. Sir, according to the test, the other party's whole body was created by adamantium. Your steel armor is not upgraded yet, so you can't fight them head-on. Adamantium. Tony glared. I immediately wanted to find Nick Fury and ask clearly. Mom messing with Fark. Do you look down on him, Tony Stark? When he wants adamantium, he will push the enemy and stop it. As soon as the enemy moves, he will be a robot warrior made by adamantium. Is this trademark reasonable? Is it reasonable? That black braised egg must have been secretly ignorant. However, Tony knew in his heart that he had to talk about this later, and now he would solve the enemy first. To avoid Sentinel's attack, Tony asked, J.A.R.V.S, how is the situation 5, 6, 7 inside? He faced Sentinel outside, and was also facing a special combat squad with hundreds of people inside. And it is a special combat squad specifically for mutant. The next second, the situation inside the building popped up on the screen in front of him. Several monitoring screens are constantly switching. Although the speed is fast, J.A.R.V.I.S shows all the key points. A big man with a metallic luster was holding a gun, punching a special war king with one punch. The bullet hit him without even a trace, and it was bounced away. According to Tony's visual analysis, this guy's defense is stronger than his steel armor, and not far from adamantium. Suddenly, his face became darker. Why didn't a Euro trademark TI find out before that the extraordinary people in this world are so perverted? I thought Hulk was the only pervert, but I didn't expect it to be everywhere. Another figure popped out the metal claws with both hands and jumped up. Ignoring the bullets hitting my body, he was covered in blood, his face was ferocious, and he roared, chopping off the rifle with one claw, and the other claw penetrated the enemy's internal organs. Then he stroked horizontally, and half of the enemy's body completely cracked. Then, before he could pounce on the next enemy, Tony saw that the wound on his body had completely healed and even squeezed out the bullets in his body. I'm NM. After seeing Wolverine Logan, his face turned completely dark, comparable to Nick Fury's. Super self-healing ability, let's put it aside, just those paws. Adamantium claws. Mom messed with Farkey. Why do you have adamantium? Just this, the black braised egg told him that adamantium was insufficient. Not enough for him to have NN legs. No. This time I have to go to Wakanda for a look. Even if there is a master of the vibranium mine, can't he buy it? Besides, that's the vibranium mine, how deep is the water, can a small Wakanda hold onto it? He helped them withstand the pressure from major countries, and what happened to vibranium? Tony was thinking in his heart while circling Sentinel. That is, Sentry now belongs to the elementary level form. Adamantium is worthy of praise, and the intelligence system is completely a slack. Compared with J.A.R.V.I.S, ETA Euro trademark S like a big gap between elementary school students and university professors. Therefore, he looked thrilling, but in fact he was not at all dangerous. Sir, Miss Potts asks you, she has been waiting for you for half an hour for the candlelight dinner tonight. When will she go back? J.A.R.V.I.S improvement made Tony's mouth twitch. It seems that we can't delay any longer. We must find a way to solve it quickly. He murmured to himself. I don't want to be delayed by this iron lump. 11 Before he finished speaking, the armor's shoulder bounced open and an electromagnetic pulse bomb was shot out. The pulse bomb exploded in the air, and invisible electromagnetic waves swept out. Sentinel just paused slightly and soon returned to normal again. EMP is useless. Tony was slightly surprised, but that's all. After all, since the other party dared to let this thing be targeted at mutants' ability diversity will inevitably be considered and various precautions will be made. Since that's the case, we can only compete with whose smart system is better. J.A.R.V.I.S, find a way to lure out the other party's flaws, make its movements bigger, and reveal the weak points at the connection. With his order, the steel armor took action instantly. With both hands raised, the energy cannon shot out, hitting Sentinel's head accurately. However, just a burst of cremation caused Sentinel's head to tilt back slightly, without any effect. Seeing this scene, Tony's eyes lit up. J.A.R.V.I.S, walk the dog first. The missile is ready at any time. Snatch the opportunity, bombard its head with maximum power, let it expose its neck, and bomb its mother with missiles. Outside, Tony found a way to defeat the enemy. But in Xavier Genius Academy, a group of mutants are facing a crisis. During this period, even Iceman Bobby was a student, with a young mind, and others. There are only a few that can be used as combat power in the entire school. However, among them, Charles and Cyclops, went to see Magneto who was locked up. Yengra and Stormolo, go to find mutant who killed the vice president. In the school, only Wolverine and the Steel class were left. Even if the two of them can kill each other, they cannot kill them quickly in a complex building facing hundreds of special warriors. Some mutant students were also arrested, and most of them were taken by Nick Fury to hide. Nick Fury is the king of agents after all, and he can withstand it in a short time. But for a long time. How far is this place from the entrance to the secret passage? Nick Fury looked solemn. The little naughty pointed to the corner in front. From there, just walk 30 meters more. It's still 30 meters? Nick Fury's eyes twitched. Damn it. Why didn't I think about calling Ron at that time? If Ron is there, a teleportation, no. Ron is directly flooded by Xavier, all the enemies will die. But he called Tony, but he didn't call Ron. If it were 30 meters, it would take only a few seconds, but now, at a distance of 30 meters, he would have to face at least a dozen fully armed enemies. And he only has a small pistol in his hand. The rifle that had just been stolen from the enemy had been exhausted long ago. Damn it. Why is the support not available yet? Calculated by time, it should be almost here now. A Euroboom. Da-da-da-da-da. Suddenly, there was a fierce battle outside. Seeing that the enemy on his side was being led away and the footsteps were getting farther and farther away, Nick Fury carefully poked his head out. After seeing the situation on the field clearly, his one-eyed eyes widened. Mom is FG Farkey. Steve? No. No. It's a high imitation. Who is this? I saw one person wearing a thin metal armor, holding a metal round shield on his hands and a short knife in the other hand. Among the Special Forces soldiers, they moved around and moved, with a round shield in their hands against bullets, and a short knife was cut by one, and all of them were split into 2 pieces, including the man and the gun. If he hadn't known that Captain America was still performing tasks, he would have thought Captain America was here if he was not in the bureau. This is obviously not an ordinary person. Which ordinary person can slap people away with one shield? But who is this? At this time, Nick Fury suddenly discovered that behind the person, a group of familiar figures, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Nick Fury's doubts became even stronger. Director, are you okay? Until the visitor solved all the enemies and found him. Hearing this familiar voice, Nick Fury looked at the other party incredibly. You are, Grant Ward. What do you want a special corpse? Haiju looked puzzled, but he still arranged for Baiju to wander around and bite the corpse. Ron glanced at him. If you want your mother to come out, shut up. Do work more, talk less, be obedient. I will be excited at that time, and maybe 0.9 will release her in advance. It is released, but if the body is killed or left, it depends on the situation. After all, Haiju just wanted his mother to come out, but he didn't say that he would die if he lived again and again. Okay, you can collect it slowly first, and I will contact you at that time. Haiju was slightly stunned when he heard Ron's words. What? Contact me on your own initiative? Are you leaving? I just let me work, but I don't Euro trademark T-Pay, and I still have to run away now? Ter. Haiju was about to call Ron, but suddenly a flash of eyes appeared before him, and there was no Ron's figure. Haiju looked ugly and stared at the place where Ron had just stood for a while. Although Ron has the reincarnation eye, he cannot believe it. He couldn't see through this guy who suddenly appeared, so Ron first responded to his plan, and his plan was still to be implemented. Uchiha Madara is dead, but his Rinnegan is still there, that is his trump card. Even if this failure is made, he will have the next time. Thousands of years have passed, and he will succeed sooner or later. Heiju's eyes were firm, and his body flashed into the ground. On the other side, Ron appeared in the south of Konoha, not far from Sand Village. 74. Yakura, an ordinary shadow-level ninja, it depends on whether your life is good. Outside the village of Sand Village, Ron looked out into the village. He was not so eager for Yakang's body now. There are only 2 types of things that can be provided to him, one is combat power and the other is burning escape. The burning escape is optional. The temperature pressure bomb is installed on the steel armor and the cloud explosion bomb, which is much more powerful than the burning escape. As for combat power, that is, elementary level shadow level, it provides up to 10 or 20 points. His current vision was tricked by Uchiha Madara and Chihohashi Mama. It's not their level, it's boring to absorb it. What he is thinking now is to see if he can really conquer a few locals. Just like Uchiha Obito, after he left, he could help him look at the Otsutsuki clan who would appear in the ninja world and the Otsutsuki clan who would not know when it would appear. Ron thought about it, just as he was about to enter the Sand Village, find a good-hearted dark village, and get some information. Suddenly I caught a glimpse of a figure and walked out of the village. As soon as I left the village, I was like an arrow leaving the string, heading towards the east. Ron looked into the distance, but couldn't see who it was, but saw the delicate back. The shoulder armor, which is as thin as a butterfly wing, does not lose its strength and beauty. As you run, it will be like the wind blowing silk. If the waist is simple, Ying-Ying holds it down and then goes down. Cough cough, it is blocked by the waist and can't be seen. But that's true, Ron is not sure, my Bae Yakura deserves her name. There is no need to be troubled anymore. Ron looked at Yakang's back and shook his head slightly. A young girl gave everything for the village, but in the end she got betrayal, and she deserved to be his person. Follow her behind, and when you encounter danger, save her. Ron took out the steel armor and divided it into a wooden duplication so that the two could keep up with Yakang. It is impossible for him to go to. The Kingdom of Wind is far away from the Kingdom of Water, so he has no time to waste here. If you have this time, go to Tsunade for a while, and then go to Konoha to talk about whether the project is not good? Where are Tsunade and Shizuan? Let me see a euro. Looking at the radar marks projected on the lens, Ron determined his position and disappeared instantly. This meatball is good and delicious. Bring some to Master Tsunade. Well, bring some. This too. Jing Ian was shopping outside happily, and then I took a look and bought a lot of things in a short while. I ate and strolled, and soon I couldn't come. Frowning his little eyebrows and pouting his little mouth, why did you forget to bring the sealed scroll? It's true. After a while, Lord Tsunade came to work hard, 10 bets and 10 wins, just like the possession of the god of gambling. The original 1 million, 100 times more, and it has been winning 100 million. This was something that had never happened before, and it made her very happy. After the bet today, Master Tsunade said she wanted to go back to drink, so she ran out and strolled. Eat a euro trademark S. Really great to buy something for the first time, don't a euro trademark T. Worry about not having enough money. Shinen returned to his residence, put the things out, picked out the items for Tsunade, picked them up and headed towards Tsunade's room. Tsunade de Shizuan was about to speak when she suddenly got off work. He blinked his big eyes and looked at the door of the room in confusion. If she heard it correctly, it seemed like there were 2 breathing sounds inside, right? There were indeed 2 people in the room, breathing heavily, without any concealment, and the silent sound could be heard clearly. It seems that someone is outside. Hey. No one, you heard it wrong. Is that true? Right. I crunch, A Euro trademark. Jing Ian's face froze and she turned around silently. I have to go and tell the shop owner, their bed is too broken, there will be a sound in a flash, it's time to change it. But after turning around, the red face on his face was as red as cinnabar, and even his neck did not fall. His temples were in his hair, and his earlobes and half of his ears were hidden between them, like red jade wrapped in black satin. The corners of his mouth were slightly pursed, his cheeks were slightly bulging, and his beautiful eyes were dull on his face, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Obviously, what at the moment thought and what she thought had nothing to do with what she said. An hour later, Tsunade's room. You really have not seen each other for many days, and you just met like this. A Euro BA, A Euro trademark. Ron slapped Tingqiao, A Euro no big or small, call him Master A Euro R. Tsunade's beautiful eyes widened and met Ron's gaze, and she was frightened and retracted. He whispered with some resentment in his mouth, Master. Yet. Ron closed his eyes with satisfaction. I have to say, what is 30 or 40, what is 30 is really reasonable. Tsunade is big Gwen and Elena, and in some aspects, there are many countries. Especially, Tsunade has a yin seal. If you don't a Euro trademark T look at the exaggerated measurements, who would believe that she is 39 this year, and eat a Euro trademark S okay to say that she is 39. The appearance of a 19-year-old girl, the core of a 39-year-old woman, tisk tisk it can only be said that it cannot be described, otherwise something will happen easily. Oh no. It seems like Shizun has been here just now. Tsunade obediently nestled in Ron's arms, constantly thinking about it in her mind. Suddenly, she remembered that halfway through the way she was doing things, she seemed to hear someone calling her outside the door, and the sound was silent. Ron nodded slightly. Oh, she heard that I was coming and went back. Hearing this sentence, Tsunade suddenly jumped up from the bed. BD, BD. I said it won't work during the day. Now let Jing Ian know. If you know, she knew it last time. Ah? Last time? I knew it too. Tsunade was a little stunned. Why didn't she know this? Oh yes, she fell asleep last time. Where is the clothes? This one is right? BD, why did this break the hole? Ron doesn't care, but Tsunade still wants shame, not to mention that she is still a famous Tsunade Hitomi who is famous in the ninja world. This name alone is worth hundreds of millions. Since I met Ron, her reputation for life has disappeared. After searching on the ground, I finally found that there was no one intact and there was no court. He sat on the bed with a broken butt. It's all your fault, your clothes are broken. Wait, I'll find you a new one. Ron glanced at the fragments on the ground. He did this wrong, how could he break it all? At least before breaking it, prepare a new one in advance. Well, remember this time, pay attention to not too savage. 01460210 Fila 1225632251 Returning to Marvel World, Ron teleported to the New York metropolis and started sweeping with Tony's card. Well, the size is a little bigger, this one is not big enough. Sir, if you want to buy clothes for your girlfriend, it is best to know the exact size so that the one you buy will fit. My eyes are rulers. I said that you can get it as big as you want, and you won't lose money. Just kidding, let alone watching it, he has been using it for so many times. He still can't see it accurately. These tricks are not in vain. It can be said that it is extremely familiar, the upper boundary is 122, and simply put, 36, G. The top and bottom are plump, the middle is thin, and it is perfect. Soon, Ron bought the clothes, found a place where no one was, put it in the space, and then returned to the ninja world. I found a piece of clothing from a pile of clothes, paired with denim high heels, and squirted the water in my hand, rinsed the clothes clean, and then threw them to Tsunade. Put it on, I just bought it. Ah. Tsunade picked up the clothes, a few bags, and two bowl-like things were connected to them. She pinched it with her hands, it was very soft, but, this file size, why does it look so familiar? Suddenly, she subconsciously looked down and her eyes twitched. Yo, I have a good understanding. Ron noticed her movements, expressed his approval and praised them. In the ninja world, there is no such underwear, and there are some fishing nets and strapless breasts. If it was a previous life, Ron said that if he didn't create content seriously, he would do something. If you really want to see it, want a Euro trademark T he look for a test website? And now, he agrees extremely with this real world, even the fewer the better. Faced with the helpless Tsunade, Ron took the initiative to answer questions for her. When encountering rare questions, Ron would also help her personally. Half an hour later, a city beauty Tsunade finally appeared in front of Ron. Tsunade rolled her eyes and tidied up the wrinkles on her clothes. From time to time, she twisted her body, and she really couldn't adapt to the clothes she was wearing. I always feel that there are a lot of constraints on the top and bottom, especially these jeans. It looks really good, but it's too close and a little tight. While highlighting her figure, it also restricts her from doing some movements. If she was wearing a whole body during the battle, she would probably have to break out before she could fight. I don't a Euro trademark T know if it was a murderer or a welfare person. She wanted to refuse, but saw Ron's satisfied and experienced eyes, and she swallowed the words she said. Tsunade felt that he had really changed. If it were someone else, the master would have kicked the other party away. But facing Ron, he was so annoyed that he still couldn't help but follow him. But, what happened? There is no way, who made him the master? The master's request can only be followed. 75. Turn around, I'll take a look. Ron touched his chin and looked up and down. I have to admit that he would buy it. This dress is amazing when worn on Tsunade. The white shirt on the upper body was tied around her waist, making the snow-capped mountains even more majestic. In addition to the combination of straight jeans on the lower body and high heels, it is really a plump bare and slender waist, and fat stocks and long legs. Ron looked and shook his head, the sound from his mouth. If I were brought to Marvel World and walked on the street with Tsunade in my arms, there would definitely be someone saying I had something. Men who don't a Euro trademark T have anything can a Euro trademark T take women of this level. With all the appearance, figure, and temperament, this kind of woman can't get her hands on just by spending money. Ron was stunned. A Euro him? I can travel through time, what about the others? A Euro he never remembered this. He could travel through space, so could he also bring anger? As long as all worlds are connected together, time is synchronized. A Euro I haven't a Euro trademark T tried it yet, so I a Euro trademark LL try it out. Well, I can't a Euro trademark T try it with my own people. If I just enter the space, I a Euro trademark LL be back to my original source. Eat a Euro trademark S over. Tsunade had a rosy look on her face. After turning it around, she didn't know where to put her hands. Even if she has a carefree personality, she can't help but feel a little reluctant at this time. However, after turning around for a long time, there was no sign of Ron's movement, and she couldn't help but look up. What a guy. I'm giving you a pause here, you're in a daze, so engrossed, thinking about which little guy is thinking about? Lo, master. Have you finished watching it? When do you want to see it? When others didn't even eat, they just let you mess around, and then they obediently asked you to play with it, but your mind drifted to the sky. Tsunade was so angry that she couldn't help but stomp her feet. The whole building shook and shook again and again. The floor suddenly looked like a spider web, and cracks were everywhere. Sir Ron, Sir Tsunade. What's wrong? What's going on? A silent shout sounded outside, with anxious voices, but he didn't break in immediately. BD mute. Why call Luo first, master? Then call me. My status in your heart is not as good as that of the BD? Tsunade, who was already angry and extremely sensitive inside, heard the shouts and did not want to reply, but stumbled on the words as soon as possible. Well, I can only say that it is very woman, even Tsunade cannot avoid the vulgarity. Ron looked at the inexplicable Tsunade and slapped him in the face. What are you thinking? Let's go out and wait outside silently. It's really elastic. With a slight force, you can bounce your hand so high. Can you take your hand down? We will be seen when we go out. Tsunade's voice sounded faintly. What's wrong? I'm your master, I'll touch it. Although Ron said that, he moved his hand up and circled around his waist. When there is no one, you can do whatever you want. That's called fun. After all, there is no outsider, so you won't be embarrassed. If there are outsiders, you have to pay attention and perform for outsiders to show. That's called pervert. In addition to making small movies, such as selfies, eat a Euro trademark S okay to watch them yourself, but I a Euro trademark LL get some touches when I send them out, or I just want to find excitement and like to wear some green. Ron doesn't have this kind of hobby, even if this woman is Tsunade who is completely conquered. Tsunade felt the change of her big hand, her mouth slightly raised, and a smile appeared in her eyes. A Euro master, BD is a bit of a BD, but he still cares about me a Euro trademark. As soon as the two walked out of the room, Shizun couldn't wait to speak. Sir Ron, Master Tsunade, what happened in the room, Tsunade? Looking at Tsunade's at the moment's outfit, Shizun was stunned. Is this Tsunade Heim? What are you looking at? Don't you know me? The eyes were stared straight at Jingyan, making her feel uncomfortable all over. Tsunade put his hands on his hips, stared at his eyes, and shouted. I know, but I haven't seen such a big thunder before. Shizun shook her head blankly, her eyes falling on Tsunade's big thunder. I made an outline, why didn't a Euro trademark T I see you for a long time? It seems to be getting bigger again? No wonder Lord Ron said I am young, compared with you, it is really too young, no, it is impossible to compare. This file size is like a comparison of the strengths of the two. She, Shanginin, Tsunade, and senior shadow level, well, it is indeed very deep, and her eyes are about to sink. Noting that he had been watching for too long, Tsunade's dissatisfaction on her face, Shizun quickly changed the topic. Oh, by the way, Lord Ron, what did you do in the house just now? Why are you so much trouble? Jingyan looked into the room pretendingly, and just this glance made her mouth twitch. This, you two. Spicy. How much does it cost to pay for this? Hearing Shinin's wail, Tsunade was not in the mood to find fault, but instead turned her head aside in embarrassment. The final compensation is definitely paid by Ron, as for where does the money come from? I can only say that when a person doesn't a Euro trademark T care about morality, there are too many channels for money. Especially Ron doesn't regard this world as a real world. It can only be said that morality is the constraints of making money. Sir Ron, where are we going next? Ron suddenly came back, making Jingyan very excited. Jumping back and forth beside the two, constantly asking this and that. Ron smiled slightly, go to Konoha first and do something. Go to Konoha? Doing business? Tsunade tightened all over. Yu Guang constantly aimed at Ron, observing the look on his face. Seeing that he kept smiling, Tsunade didn't know what he was thinking. Tsunade was also a little confused about whether to do something or to find something. I could only constantly wink Jing Ian and ask Jing Ian to ask her. However, Jing Ian, who was so excited that he couldn't understand what she meant at all. What's wrong? Is Mr. Tsunade feeling uncomfortable in his eyes? I have medicine here, so I can give you some. Tsunade, Ron pinched Tsunade's part at the invisible angle. Don't worry, I'm not going to find trouble. I'm going to go to Orochimaru to do something. The slight pain on his butt made Tsunade look around nervously, and when he saw that no one was there, he breathed a sigh of relief. After hearing Ron's words, he even put down the big stone in his heart. She said with some confusion, you are going to find Orochimaru. Ron suddenly moved his eyebrows slightly, his eyes staring at the direction they were moving forward, his expression was inexplicably, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. Yes, go find Orochimaru. I heard that he is a great scientist in the ninja world and is good at doing various experiments, so I asked him to cooperate with him to do some research. However, it seems like we don't need to go to Konoha anymore, he has already arrived. Ron, who was sensitive to the five senses, smelled the fishy smell of snakes in the air. Ah! Tsunade was still thinking about Orochimaru's affairs, but was suddenly stunned by Ron's words. Looking forward, a red shadow came into her eyes, and she blinked unexpectedly. Kushina. In front, the red figure was the second generation of Ju-tailed Guru Riki and Uzumaki Kushina. Tsunade was surprised that how could Wu-tailed Hashiri leave the village? Even though Tsunade and Kushina Uzumaki have a good relationship and are like sisters, they don't Euro trademark T agree with each other leaving the village for Konoha. I can only say that I am phobic and I am fine when I leave the village. Even my companions, Orochimaru and Jiraiya, later they both ran away from the village. But in their hearts, Kushina Uzumaki, leave the village? No. Sister Tsunade. Seeing Tsunade, Kushina Uzumaki looked happy, but then her expression changed after seeing Ron. Sister Tsunade gets out of the way, that person is in danger. Before he finished speaking, Kushina Uzumaki had already arrived 10 meters away, and several chains appeared on her body, heading towards Ron. Tsunade was surprised at how Kushina Uzumaki left the village, but suddenly the other party took action against Ron, and she was shocked. Without even asking, Tsunade rushed out and kicked the attacking King Kong blockade with one punch and one kick. Kushina, what are you going to do? Tsunade asked Riko. Maid. She finally got closer to Ron and got herself in. She just used a negative distance to force Ron to cooperate with Konoha. Orochimaru belongs to Konoha. It is no different from being with Orochimaru. As a result, this cooperation is about to begin and is about to be messed up. Kushina heard this, without any intention of stopping, and continued to fight with Tsunade. Good Zhao Zhao. Sister Tsunade, I know you are confused by him. He used wood diversion. You think he's from the Thousand Hands clan. In fact, you were biased by him, and he obtained it through special means. In the village, there is also a child who can use wood escape. He was researched using the cells of the first generation of Naruto. He is the guy who studies the cells of the first generation of women. What a good guy. Really good guy. Make a comeback. Turn against Tian Gang. A euro 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 a Ron looked at Kushina with a complicated look. If you want to say she is wrong, Ron's ability is indeed not the right way. If she was right, it wasn't Chun-Chun's scare to him. Such a big gangster was put on his head? Who did this? Don't a Euro trademark T you want to live anymore? Kushina Uzumaki would definitely not do such a thing. She didn't have that brain and probably was used as a gun. Danzo? Or Sarutobi Hinasan? Noting that Tsunade just shook her body and was still standing firmly in front of him, Ron smiled slightly without explanation. Chitailed Tsubaki Riki is here, and Orochimaru is also hiding in the dark. Is the mastermind behind the scenes still far away? Just wait, you will jump out. I really don't a Euro trademark T know what expression they will be when they see him Susatora Buddha. Ron was full of expectations. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.